discovered. However, his trial has faced numerous delays and adjournments since then. Scoil Náisiúnta and Braca in Ardra has been granted permission to proceed to the tender stage with its plans for an extension. It will include a special class for children with additional educational needs, a soft and hard play area, a sensory garden and 6 parking spaces. The project's being funded under the Department of Education's Additional School Accommodation Scheme. The move's been welcomed by Minister Charlie McConalogue, who commended the efforts of all involved. €750,000 has been allocated to 15 sport and community projects across Donegal. It's part of an €11.4 million investment across Ireland. It will support the development of sports and outdoor facilities such as playgrounds, astroturf pitches, running tracks and spectator stands. Each of the projects in Donegal have been granted €50,000. A series of remembrance ceremonies will take place in Creasla on the 2nd anniversary of the explosion that claimed 10 lives. At 3:17, the exact time of the tragedy, the bell of St Michael's Church will toll 10 times in memory of the victims. Relatives of the victims have announced plans to gather at the site of the former service station to mark the anniversary. A prayer service will also be held at St Michael's Church at 7 o'clock this evening. £20,000 sterling worth of topsoil has been stolen from a site adjacent to the Strathfoyle Link Road in Omagh. Police have launched an investigation and are particularly interested in speaking with the drivers of John Deere and Massey Ferguson tractors that were seen making multiple trips to the site around the start of September. Anyone with information about the theft is urged to contact PSNI to assist with inquiries. And finally, motorists are advised that the A5 remains closed, with diversions now in place at Patrick Road, Ballymagorry and Woodend Road, Strabane. All traffic's being diverted via Donamana, and police are asking for cooperation of the public at this time. Now for weather, today will be a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some will be heavy. Highest temperatures of 15 or 16 degrees in a light to moderate south to southeast wind. That's all for now from Highland Radio News, back again at 10 o'clock.
Menopause can be a challenging time of life. I'm Lorraine Keane and I choose Irish supplement Clean Marine Menamin because it's Ireland's #1 clinically proven peri and menopause supplement for daily nutritional support. Trusted by thousands of Irish women for over 10 years, Menamin contains omega-3 DHA to support brain health and vitamin B6, which contributes to the regulation of hormonal activity, and all in just 2 capsules a day. Ask for Menamin at health stores and pharmacies and learn more at cleanmarine.ie.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It is approaching 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday. It's the 7th of October 2024. A very good morning. How are you all keeping? I hope you had a great weekend. And it's great to have you back on board for another week of the 9 till Noon Show. It's the usual mix coming up of features that will keep you informed and entertained, and we want your views all along the way. Our lines are open once again. They're ever open, if the truth be told. You can text or WhatsApp us on 08660 25000, 08660 25000. Maybe there's a topic you believe we should be talking about. Let us know. There's no point saying, oh, why don't they talk about that? Well, we have to know about it too, so get in touch with us. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25000, 07491 25000. And for either of those numbers, if you're outside the Republic and you want to be in touch with us, it's 00353. You drop the O and away you go with the rest of the number. Emails come in to us at comments@highlandradio.com, and you are free, if it suits you, to watch the show on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, on your mobile devices, your smart TV or your Fire Stick, across Facebook and on the X platform. The Derry People Donegal News this morning. Parishioners gathered in St Mary's Church, Ramelton on Saturday to pray for missing local man Paul Buchanan. The Mass was arranged after a kayak was found north of Tory Island on Friday evening. Mr Buchanan, who operates an accounting practice in Letterkenny, failed to return after he set off from Maher Galleon Pier in Gweedore at around 5 p.m. on Thursday evening, October 3rd. A massive sea search has been ongoing since the alarm was raised at midnight on Thursday. Speaking at Mass on Saturday, parish priest Father Michael Carney thanked everyone for coming out in such great numbers to pray. We join in those prayers. The Derry news this morning. Police are investigating a vandalism attack on a Derry city centre business. Red paint was daubed on the front of the Oasis Gaming Centre in the Diamond area on Friday afternoon. A group called Derry Socialist Republicans for Palestine have claimed responsibility for the attack. A video on the group's Instagram page shows two members smearing paint on the front of the business before cycling off down Shipquay Street. A post on the group's Instagram page says it carried out the attack due to the owner's links to Israel and the exploitation of working class communities. That's what they claim in any case. On to the Nationals. The Irish Independent this morning, and fears are growing for the safety of 33 Irish peacekeeping troops trapped at a UNIFIL outpost where heavy fighting is ongoing between the Israeli army and Hezbollah. The UN has now raised concerns over the position of Israeli tanks near the peacekeeping post known as UNP 652, manned by Irish troops. In a statement last night, UNIFIL, the UN mission in Lebanon, said the presence of IDF troops there was an extremely dangerous development. Of course, not least because they could be targeted themselves, drawing fire on the Irish peacekeepers. I said that, by the way, it's not in the article. The platoon of Irish soldiers have been locked down at the Irish base along the so-called Blue Line since last Monday, when the perimeter of their base was swarmed by Israeli Merkava tanks. Now, I'm not sure why they stayed on site. I know in the past Irish missions have, when there have been incursions or increased hostilities, have stayed to fulfill their mission. But this seems a particularly ruthless stage of this conflict, and I don't see what purpose they serve being there, but that could be my own ignorance. And I know there are former members of the Defence Forces or current Defence Forces that have served in South Lebanon, and if you want to give us an insight into that, we'd be more than happy to speak to you. Well, the Israeli army dug in around the Irish base and engaged Hezbollah in heavy rocket and gunfire that has persisted throughout the weekend. Irish UN troops maintained a large base, Camp Shamrock, and two outposts along the Blue Line, the de facto border between Israel and Lebanon. And the Israelis continue to pound southern Lebanon and Beirut at night time as well, which is not an accident. Doesn't let anyone sort of settle or rest on their laurels, be they the enemy or be they just regular civilians, which are being killed in huge numbers. The Irish Times this morning, Sinn Féin is under renewed pressure to clarify when senior figures learned the party officials had provided references for a former employee who was then under police investigation and was later convicted of child sex offences. Yesterday, Taoiseach Simon Harris described as deeply worrying the revelation that two former Sinn Féin press officers provided references for a former colleague, Michael McMonigal, 42, from Limewood Street, Derry, who was convicted last month for a series of sexual offences, including attempting to incite a child to engage in sexual activity. McMonigal had sought employment with the British Heart Foundation, which was not made aware by Sinn Féin of the charges he faced. The party's northern leader, Michelle O'Neill, has said she only became aware of the references at the time of the conviction. However, on Saturday, it emerged that the British Heart Foundation contacted Sinn Féin in August of 23 as part of a review by the charity of its recruitment process when it was made aware of the charges against McMonigal. Ms O'Neill said she learnt last Thursday that in August 23, following media reports of charges against McMonigal, that the BHF had contacted Sinn Féin's former HR manager about the references. Somebody who actually carried out a sexual crime against a child was moved from a political party to a charity, and that move was facilitated by employer references provided by that party, Mr Harris said. So it's a story that continues to rumble. The Irish Daily Mail this morning, the fastest population growth since the Celtic Tiger is driving strong house price increases, the latest myhome.ie report shows. And really effectively what this seems to be saying is that even if we are continuing to build at the current rate, or even to some extent the targets that have been outlined, such as the influx, the inward migration of people, some seeking refuge, some actually just seeking employment, the housing market does not have the capacity for this increased inward movement. Strong labour market growth and a population surge of 1.9% for a second successive year to 5.38 million now has put intensive pressure on the seriously undersupplied housing market. The number of properties listed for sale on myhome.ie in September was just 13,100, well down from the pre-pandemic levels of 20,000 plus and a drop of around 35%. 1 in 7 homes are selling for 20% above their asking price, and asking prices nationally are up 7.5% on last year, the strongest increase in 2 years according to the new report. And effectively, Ireland would need 200,000 extra homes this year alone to match the UK's housing to population ratio. Now, that's just an indication, it's a bit of guidance, but that's how far behind we are. And the current population growth compared to our ability to build houses, they're mismatched significantly at the moment. There was a bizarre story in the papers over the weekend, or maybe not so bizarre, and it's continued in the Irish Daily Star today. Revelations that an Irish politician was allegedly recruited by a Russian spy should come as no surprise to anyone, Simon Harris has said. The Fine Gael leader made the comments after reports emerged that Russian intelligence allegedly recruited an Oireachtas member as an agent. Described as one of the state's most closely guarded secrets, the politician, given the codename Cobalt, was allegedly recruited by a Russian diplomat who was also acting as a spy master. Now, if this is a true story, like at this point, surely the person's name should be mentioned. I'm not saying them not being named means the story's untrue, but there's an awful lot going on here about supposed this and alleged that, and I heard the other. It's believed Russian intelligence used a honey trap to recruit the politician as an agent during the Brexit talks, with one of the aims being to undermine relations between Britain, Ireland and the EU. The agent is alleged to have met with former diplomat Sergei Prokopev, I know that man's name and I can't pronounce it from the way it's written down, who was expelled from the country by the Department of Foreign Affairs. The Sunday Times claimed the pair met outside of Dublin and were monitored by security forces. Which is really quite a bizarre story. But who is the person? I think if the paper is so sure of who it is, they should be able to name the person. But anyway, maybe that will happen. Staying with politics, The Sun tells us that more than half of you out there want a general election this month. While the current Fine Gael Fianna Fáil Green Party coalition can continue until early 2025, there's been speculation the next election may be called sooner. Taoiseach Simon Harris and his Fine Gael party are continuing to ride high in the polls, with the latest Sunday Independent Ireland Think poll indicating he has the highest party leader support level on 53%, while Fine Gael support is up at 26%. Mr Harris said on Friday the next election will come in due course, while Taoiseach Micheál Martin said on Saturday the three party leaders have said they want to go the full distance. But of course, Micheál Martin perhaps would like to go the full distance, given the fact that there's probably a little bit of rebounding to be done for his party. But a poll of the public found 55% want an election to be held this month or next. So there you go. And lastly, the emotional roller coaster that the family of Danielle McLaughlin are being put through. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We spoke not so long ago to Andrea Brannigan, who has been through it all in terms of losing her daughter, the circumstances of it being so far away, and then the foot dragging in the trial of the chief suspect, Vikat Bhagat, and then to be told, right, the end is in sight, and then for that now again seemingly to have been snatched away is unbelievable. The mum of backpacker, they call her a tragic backpacker. Her events were tragic, but she was anything but. She was an amazing young woman. The mum of Danielle has told of her anguish after the trial of a man accused of her murder will be extended again. Andrea Brannigan, whose daughter Danielle McLaughlin was killed in India in 2017, was told the 7-year legal proceedings would end on October 17th, but has learned it's been put back. The body of Danielle, who was 28 and from Buncrana, was found in Goa. She'd been brutally raped and murdered. Vikat Bhagat denies rape and murder of Danielle. He's been in custody since his trial began in 2017, now ongoing for more than 7 years. It's one of the longest murder trials in the world, believe it or not. Last year, India's High Court instructed the trial to be expedited to hearing 3 times a week and to be concluded by July. However, Andrea was told earlier in the summer it'll continue throughout September. And she has then been informed a new bid to have the trial continue longer was refused by the court, which ordered proceedings to conclude by October 17th. So that brings us up to date with our last conversation with Andrea. But now a judge believes it's impossible to finish by that date and requested the High Court to allow an extension. A decision on this is expected later this week. Andrea said, "I'm absolutely so upset by this as it's another setback." And the last time we spoke to her, she'd been instructed to try and book tickets because, of course, she wants to be there. And in fact, it could have been sooner. So to try and book tickets that could be flexible in case she needed to be out in India sooner. And now she awaits to find out if the conclusion of that trial is going to be pushed back once again.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
It can help to learn about breastfeeding when you're pregnant. Drop in to your local breastfeeding support group before the birth to get tips. Pregnant women are always welcome. Visit mychild.ie for advice on pregnancy, baby and toddler health.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
There's great reductions on children's clothing in the final clearance sale at Watson Menswear, Letterkenny. Kids' shirts and polos, $12.95 or 2 for €20. Selected casual shoes, €15. Kids' denims, 2 for €30. Final reductions on top labels like Farah, Diesel and Lyle & Scott. These savings are while stocks last at Watson Menswear, Main Street, Letterkenny. See watsonmenswear.com.
Are you looking for amazing eyewear and an optician you can trust? Tired of the same old frames or had a disappointing experience elsewhere? If so, then Andrea Devon's Opticians Letterkenny is the right opticians for you. Call us today on 074 920 6191 to book your appointment and find your perfect frames.
Your friends said you were mad. Your family said it was risky. Your heart said, I can do this. But now a little voice inside is saying, what's next? Visa's She's Next grant programme is empowering women to take the next step with their small business, with a chance to win one of 5 grants worth up to €50,000 and professional coaching. You say, I'm ready. We say, you've got this. Apply now at visa.ie/she's next. Open to women-owned businesses operating in the Republic of Ireland. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by AirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. AirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is just turned 19 minutes past 9. Now, I'm one person and I know 4 young people, as it turns out, who are very keen to get on the road, given where we are, but to attend work and college. And I know one, my own son actually, who was awaiting his test and it was scheduled, you know the way you can keep checking, and you do keep checking. And it was for November 15th where he'd be invited to apply for a test, such as the way it works. And then just in the blink of an eye, it's been pushed out to the start of January. And it's devastating, really, when people rely on cars, as I say, to get to and from work. There is no public transport available to suit most people's needs, or even just to get their education, dependent on where they're going. This is an issue that's being raised by Councillor Jerry McMonigle as well. He is calling on the municipal district to contact the RSA on this issue. Now, not on this issue as it relates to me, on this issue more generally. Jerry, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to everyone.
Yeah, so what are the latest figures telling us in terms of waiting times for people to get their driving test?
Well, according to the department, there's almost 10,000, over 9,500 currently in Donegal and learner permits licenses. There's 1,600 awaiting a test in the county, and there's 580 who are scheduled. But like you said, Greg, been contacted by a number of young people as well over this last number of months in relation to the length of time they're having to wait from they would sort of complete their course of driving test, which enables them to apply for the test, to the time that they get the test, and then they're out the extra expense. Some of them have been given 4 months of a time frame before they be invited to sit their test. And then, as you say, when they look in the portal, that's extended maybe another month or 6 weeks, and they don't know what's happening. They're obviously out extra expense. And if they're traveling too, if they're lucky enough that there's a bus service that gets them to their work or there's their education centre at the times that they need to be there. So, look, what I can't understand is that in June last year, that the Transport Minister, Eamon Ryan, was approving a plan to do away with this continual application process for learner drivers, that they would continue with their learner driver until their test, instead of looking at the problem, which is the lack of testers. Obviously, we haven't got enough. The demand is such that the testers are there at the minute and not able to meet that demand. So rather than target the license holders, I thought he should have been investing in more testers to allow these young people an opportunity either to get to their work or to get to their place of education.
I seem to recall last year it being announced that more testers were being hired last year. And I think last week again they made another announcement that more testers are to be hired, and that's going to come into effect the middle of next year. It's kind of, are we there yet? Are we there yet? It constantly feels like people announce that stuff is being done, but the lived reality is that younger people, older people for that matter, maybe some of those that were on perpetual learner licenses and realised that they need to actually sit a driving test and get a full licence, all of those people can't get a test. And the reason why, and it was mentioned last week, Jerry, the reason why they're not cracking down on people perpetually booking tests to maintain the learner license is because they're concerned that it would overwhelm the driving test system. That's a major problem.
Yeah, and it's a bigger problem in counties like Donegal and other rural counties because we haven't got the transport systems that are in place in many of the cities. But you're right, it is perpetual, and there could be a lot of people who've been on learner driver licenses for years and years because they haven't been able to access the test, and then they get out of the habit of waiting to do the test. It was handier to renew their learner driving permit, which is not a good thing, and we see the statistics for road traffic accidents and deaths, and it's rising this year again. We know, personally, I think we need to look at the whole format of the driving test as well and how that's done, because the way I see it is done in managed areas and towns, very little of driving out on major roads, motorways, stuff like that. And these where most of these accidents happen. The more serious accidents are not happening in town centres where there's traffic going very slow, there's junctions, and while all that there is very good and it's necessary and you get you them skills, but it's when you go out onto the 80, 100-kilometre roads, 120-kilometre roads, I think that's where we're missing a beat there, Greg, and I think that needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a strange system whereby you can do your driving test. Well, let's say, for instance, you could do your driving test in Donegal town, right? And there's a few things you won't encounter. A, traffic lights. B, a motorway or dual carriageway. C, nighttime driving conditions. B, frosty driving conditions. And so on and on it goes. What to do if you aquaplane? How do you deal with that? We're not teaching anyone any of this stuff whatsoever. So someone then passes their test in Donegal town. At least in Letterkenny, maybe you have to contend with the Polestar or something. But you're given a driving license and you're not tested in the majority of potentially high risk situations. It is a bit crazy. I wonder how many driving testers we have in this county, because sometimes it feels to me that if someone books annual leave off in December, there's about 300 or 400 people are told that their lessons, their test is a month later now all of a sudden. It does feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, and that's happening as well. And that's something I'm trying to find out now is how many testers there's per centre and where they are, and I hope they have that information shortly. But it's like it's like the left hand isn't talking to the right hand here, because all the applications are coming in. They have to be administered. They have to be collated. They have to be slotted into time. And then does the department not say to the minister, look, we're under extreme pressure here. You need to be getting more testers in A, B, and C. It's okay in Cork and Dublin because it's manageable, there's public transport, but in the rural counties, there's not. We need to increase the number of testers. And it says, whenever you write them about the delays, they talk about the emergency workers and all of that, and healthcare workers and stuff. But they say, but this does not include your community work. Well, if you're a healthcare worker and you're needed, then surely your community work is equally as important as when you land at your job.
Of course.
And the other thing is that your test can just be cancelled because, as you said, someone phones in sick or they take leave and you're not informed about this, and you don't be told until maybe a couple of days before your test.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done by that whole department, I think. They need to talk to one another, and when they talk about they're going to take on 70 testers, it'll be the middle of next year probably, but they're only talking about the first batch. How many is that? Is that 10?
Yeah, but
15?
they said the same last
20?
year. This is a bit like the charging infrastructure. I'm a bit frustrated by these constant announcements that nothing ever seems to pass. What I didn't realise until very recently is that there is a cancellation. There is a cancellation part of the portal, which I thought was done away with, but it is there. But I'm not telling anyone how to access it until Aaron gets a test.
No, but you can't. Yes, there is that. But again,
no,
you're in a queue,
and
you could be given a date that mightn't suit you.
Yeah, I know. I know. Right. Okay. And I would love to know what this. I know you're putting questions in there, and you're going to ask all the questions. But I'd love to know, like, you know, if someone does call in sick or if they're on annual leave, like, do they bring someone from another part of the country, or does that actually affect the waiting times? Because in this day and age, even just the inconvenience is there and everything, but from a road safety perspective, we really need to crack down on this too. We look forward to seeing what answers you get from the representations from the MD, but also the other questions that you're putting in, because there's a lot of people listening today with a great interest in it. And I appreciate your time, Jerry. Thanks for it. Take care.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, bye-bye. That's Cancer Jerry McMonigal there. If that's something you're experiencing, let us know. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text. Just some further fallout from Budget 25. And, you know, I think the devil and the detail, or the positives in the detail, are only starting to emerge for some now. This from a small business person. Greg, no help for small businesses in this budget. I employ myself and 2 other people. The 2 ICOB grants, increased cost of business grants from the council, was denied to me because I'm in arrears on the rates due to 2 tough years in tourism. I offered to pay the council both grants in full and enter into a payment plan to pay back rates, and they denied my business the grant, stating it was because I was in arrears, which is difficult because the business arguably needs the most help there, and you're very willing to try and work with the council to sort it out. Very frustrating. So these helps for business from the government are lies for businesses that are struggling. Love the show. Thank you and the team for asking hard questions. I wonder how many other businesses were also turned down because they're finding it tough. Well, let us know. 086 60 25,000. Right, we're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be back with our next guest in just a couple of moments.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
iMotors are now carrying the largest range of pre-owned cars in the Northwest.
Don't settle for just any car. Choose the one that suits your style and budget.
Visit imotors.ie to explore our extensive range with 20 plus brands to choose from and find your next car today.
Or call into our showroom in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
With more routes nationwide, your TFI Local Link bus service provides connection to the wider Transport for Ireland public transport network. Save up to 30% when you use your TFI Leap card on TFI Local Link services. For route and timetable information, visit transportforireland.ie. We're Transport for Ireland. We're transport for you.
Poor Sandra. She's bedbound, burning up, wishing she'd gone to Boots. Her throat's sore, head's pounding, and on top of all that, now she's worried she's missing out. Because judging from the group chat, she's just missed a great night with friends. Make the most of this winter and help protect yourself and the people around you. Get your winter flu and COVID-19 vaccinations at Boots. Book yours in-store or at boots.ie/flu. Boots. With you for life. Eligibility criteria apply. Charges may apply subject to availability.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens. And suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney and Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranraer.
Farmers, are you in need of finance? At B&S Credit Union, their new Cultivate loan is available at a great loan rate for loans up to €75,000 for all your farming needs. Call free phone 1800 290 390 or visit bnscu.ie/cultivate for full details. Their dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you complete the loan process. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, funding worth €5 million for the group known as the Forgotten Farmers was announced by government as part of Budget 25. There are an estimated 3,500 farmers who lost out on vital farmer support due to cuts in public expenditure by the government following the last recession. Forgotten farmers typically set up their agricultural holdings before 2008 and were under 40 in 2015, but did not qualify for CAP supports, as had other young farmers at that time. Tom Boyd is of Lakeside Farm, Carrickfinn. He joins us now. Hi, Tom. Thanks for holding there. I do appreciate it.
Morning, Greg.
Right. So what's your reaction to the Forgotten Farmers $5 million announcement in the budget?
Yeah, I suppose this group have looked for this money for quite a while, and I know they've campaigned hard for it, but at the end of the day, it is nearly 20 years since these farmers were eligible for these grants, and it does feel a bit like the forgotten farmers, or really the future farmers, have been forgotten about in the budget. And I know they've allocated, $5 million for this forgotten farmer scheme to set it up, and I'm sure the $5 million won't cover what they're looking for over the next number of years, but I think really it should have been more aimed towards the future farmers maybe, and the money could have been better spent at encouraging maybe an older generation to retire or hand over the reins of the farm, as they say. If you look there now at the statistics, really the average age of a farmer is increasing massively. We're near 60 for the average age of a farmer in Ireland, and we're also, the amount of farmers in Ireland are decreasing. So if the amount of farmers are decreasing and the age is increasing, it only tells you one thing, that the young folk aren't getting involved in farming. And I know people say, the younger generation don't want to do farming, they don't want the hard work, but there's plenty of interest by the younger generation, but there's no incentive from the government or anybody for the younger generation to get involved. And I understand too, the older folk aren't not financially fit maybe to sign it over. They need to themselves look after, but I think if the government had put some sort of plan in place for the older generation to slowly hand over the reins, and that they were financially safe as they moved forward, it might have been better spent, really.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact details, but close to it. Over half of farmers have no succession plan in place.
That's
which
correct.
That was a study recently, wasn't it? I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? Do you think that's because there's not the support there, or what do you think's going on?
I think there's no financial support for farmers to retire, really, and a lot of them too wouldn't have had any pension plans over the years, so you can't live on nothing, Greg. Then a lot of these older farmers have no financial plan. There's nothing, and I suppose there is an initiative now to try and encourage that, and there is meetings going on over the last number of years to encourage that. But there would need to be some sort of scheme for the government to encourage farmers to do that, maybe. And look, there's also the massive tax issues in regards to farmers handing over and all this, the implications as well.
But I mean, yes, they still need to plan, because they might not have to worry about the tax implications when they're alive, but if they've got no will in place whomever inherits their holding, they face significant tax issues. So it is always better, isn't it, Tom, to do that while everybody is alive? But you can understand why farmers don't retire either, because 1 in 3 do not have a pension in place. So that might be their only income, to just keep working until they can't work any longer.
That's 100% what I'm getting at, Greg. I say very few farmers have any sort of pension. They can't afford to live off the state pension if they're eligible. So what can they do really? They can't survive on nothing. So that's why I think the money would be better aimed towards a retirement scheme for farmers, or a succession scheme or something like that, where they could slowly hand over the reins. It would work out better for the next generation. As you said, it's for tax reasons. It's a lot easier to do it before, when everybody's still around. But as I say, the money now is being aimed towards the forgotten farmers. And look, I understand these farmers lost out on money back then due to, the government again. The first cuts was for the farmers when the recession came, and I understand these farmers missed out on the grants, but I think it might have been better aimed if they had sorted something for the future farmers. And we're just, every year we're falling year on year where nothing's been put in place to encourage the older generation to maybe hand over the reins.
I suppose, Tom, it all boils down to, though, what the plan is. And this is, I don't know what the plan is, or if there is any plan. This is a question, it's not a statement. But, how committed are we as a nation to, continue to farm into the future? Or is our priority in, I don't know, data centres and electricity generation? I don't know the answer to that question. But, unless we are committed as a nation to support our farming community, then why would you invest any money in succession planning or encouraging young people into the industry? I think a lot of people could argue that we've lost really the fishing industry, because there's at least 2 generations now that haven't gone into it for a number of reasons, but not least maybe some that you're paying to have boats tied up. Do you know, that sort of way? So I suppose really we have to have an honest conversation about how committed are we to being a farming nation in 10, 20, 30, 40 years' time.
Yeah, well, look, we hit the nail on the head there, Greg. Is the government really committed to supporting Irish farmers? And it would appear to us that they're not really committed to supporting the farmers, and they'll be quite happy in 10, 15, 20 years that if we produce very little of our food here and we import it all. And I think maybe, as I say, the fishing industry is basically dead in the country, and I think in 10 or 20 years we might end up with the same thing in the farming industry. And I know there's a lot of regret now that the fishing industry is gone here, basically. Myself here in Airport Port used to be a thriving fishing area, but there's basically nobody fishing out of it now making a living. And it's the same way, farming's going the same way. It appears the government are quite happy for the farmers not to farm, plant them up, or plant them windmills or solar panels, and then we'll just import our food. But I think that when we get to that stage, will be an issue, because we'll realise then what we had and it'll be gone. The quality of the produce in this country far outweighs what we're importing from other countries.
I think it's good to have security in being able to produce your own food, your own vegetables, your own whatever it is. We never know what way this world is going, and we could end up ruining the day. Farmers all of a sudden were very important when the invasion of Ukraine happened. You might recall that. It was like, right, we need you guys to dig us out here because we might need alternative supplies of certain stuffs, but that seems to have gone by the wayside. Now, there is quite a bit of support out there in terms of succession planning. Maybe the government needs to invest more in connecting farmers with farm advisors, or encouraging them of the benefits of it, or maybe engaging in schemes, or telling them how maybe there could be certain tax breaks in certain areas, so that, farmers feel confident that they can either A, plan for the future, or B, it might be the decision not to. But do you think more needs to be done to sort of engage the farming community, particularly those of a generation, with the services that are out there, Tom?
Yeah, look, there could be more engagement and encouragement towards farmers. The older generation are more of this, don't like to talk about the finances and things like that, but there needs to be a breakthrough in that, and to encourage them, and possibly more incentives, really, to incentivize them. A lot of them don't want to tie themselves down to contracts, or sign up to anything in case of it might do harm and things like that. And they know what they have. They know that if they keep doing what they're doing, they'll survive. So they're afraid to change, really. And there needs to be more work done on the ground, really, and more. I know Teagasc do lots of different things there. They offer different seminars and things like that for farmers to come along and hear about the success and things, but there's no follow-through, suppose, really. It's all well and good having these events.
Well, half of farmers have no succession plans, so whatever we're doing now, it's not landing, and or it's not working, or it's not workable. There's something going on here, because that's a huge cliff edge. If half of the current people farming at the moment have no succession plans, and that's a national average, and sometimes I think, it might be higher up here than it is elsewhere, such as the different type of farming we do, the size of the farms and what have you. All right, Tom, listen, an interesting conversation. We'll chase it up down the line, because I think it's something should be kept on the agenda. But for now, Tom, thanks very much for your opinions. I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you very much.
Tom Boyd there of Lakeside Farm in Carrickfinn. A caller says, "Hi Greg, can you please ask your listeners about deer now we're in rutting season? I walk the forest here in Gweedore every day. People say I should not be in the forest now in rutting season. What is the story?" Okay, so we have fantastic, well-learned listeners out there, many of them in the farming community. So a caller out, walks the forest in Gweedore every day, loves it, but's been told by a few people it might be a little bit dangerous because of it being rutting season. So what's the view out there? Tell us if it's safe for them to walk or not. Greg, what's wrong with the world? I passed a house last night and the Christmas tree, the Christmas lights and all was up. Come on, says the listener. Do you know, with everything that's the world at the moment, it's going down in a handcart, you would feel. There's so much going on and so much misery in this world today. If that person gets one little bit of joy or respite from worries and strife by putting their Christmas tree up and their lights up, I say fair play to them, because it can sort of feel like everything's going to pot. And I think maybe this person, we should all say, well, it might not be for me, the Christmas tree, but you know what, if that's what makes them happy, or maybe there's children in the house that there could be a myriad of reasons, but that they feel that they want to put the tree and the lights up now and it works for them, so be it. But for some, it does annoy them, and I know some people are annoyed by seeing certain stuff in shops as it relates to Christmas. But I know people very close to me that do Christmas shopping on St. Stephen's Day. So, I'm well conditioned to Christmas coming early. All right, we're going to take a very quick break, and then we're coming back with an interesting proposal, and I wonder what you might think of this, from Fine Gael Senator Nicky Bradley, as it relates to how we rate our hotels.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
Eurodreams is the new game from the National Lottery, where you could win €20,000 a month for the next 30 years. That's €20,000 every month for 30 years. Draws take place every Monday and Thursday, so pick up a Eurodreams ticket for your chance to win.
Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
From the hard-working new Transit Custom to the new rugged Ford Ranger and the dependable all-new Transit Connect to the reimagined all-new Courier and our new all-electric e-Transit range. Our award-winning Ford Pro commercial vehicle range has now been fully buffed and upgraded. Come and take Ireland's best-selling Ford Pro range for a test drive today. Productivity never looks so good. Browse the full Ford Pro range or book your test drive on Ford.ie. Claim based on latest published SIMI figures. Test drive subject to availability.
All you need to make your house a home at Patterson's The Hall Ifford. Christmas Layaway Club now open with lots of Christmas gift ideas in store, like Hollywood mirrors, dressing tables, beanbags and much more. Need a new mattress? Visit our sleep centre on the first floor with quality beds and mattresses at discount prices. In stock and ready for immediate collection or delivery. Open Monday to Saturday 9am till 5:30pm with hot lunches served daily in our coffee shop. Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall Ifford.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. If you haven't started using the McElhinney's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Right, today there'll be a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers, some heavy, temperatures 15 or 16 degrees and a light to moderate south to southeast wind. Now, Fine Gael Senator Nicky Bradley joins me on the programme now. Good morning to you, Nicky. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. Now, you've written to Fulcha Ireland urging that no hotel is to receive more than 3 stars without adequately catering for people with disabilities. Tell us more.
So this is something that I have, before I became a senator, it's something that I had spoken to numerous hotels about over the years. As a motivational speaker, I was obviously on the road a lot, and I would always, when booking hotels, ask for an accessible room. So I like to think that at this point I have a good bit of experience visiting these hotels all around Ireland, and there were numerous things that always stood out to me that were very clearly designed by people that didn't have lived experience. And the more I saw it, the more it annoyed me. And as a crutch user, I'm somewhat limited, but I often put myself in the shoes of a wheelchair user. And I'm just going to give you a really quick example. So last week I was in a hotel in Dublin and I asked at reception where their accessible bathrooms were. And I was brought round the corner and I realised quickly that there was 2 accessible bathrooms, both of which were locked. And in order to gain access, there's an actual phone mounted to the wall beside the locked toilet. And in order to gain access, you had to ring a number, which was basically ringing reception. Now, as we all know, usually when you ring a hotel reception, most of the time they don't answer. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. Now, again, as a crutch user, I always use an accessible bathroom. I'm an amputee. I need to take off my leg to actually be able to use the bathroom. And therefore, I need a bigger stall. But if I was a wheelchair user, I would have no choice but to continue to ring this number and not have it answer. I was able to go and use a regular bathroom just because I had to. And I just thought in that moment, this is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know, if somebody is waiting to use the bathroom and they have to ring a phone number to gain access, to get a code to gain access, I just thought this isn't organised or designed by somebody that is a wheelchair user or has that lived experience.
Why would access be restricted like that out of interest? And if why would you not on booking be given a code even if they did for whatever reason have to lock it? I don't understand. But why would?
Yeah. So just to even quickly explain why they lock it, and I understand why, and I agree with in principle what they're trying to do. So basically, they're trying to stop people misusing disabled toilets. People that don't have a disability often use them. We see it everywhere around Ireland, especially in our garages when we are on a long journey and we go in and try and use a disabled toilet, and you see that it's being used as a storage cupboard or it's being misused by the public. So they've obviously taken a stand to protect the bathroom. So I completely agree with that side of things. But as you just pointed out, and it's the perfect solution, give people access when they're booking.
Yeah.
Now this was a bathroom. This wasn't, obviously a bathroom in a hotel room. This was the lobby bathroom.
Yes, of course, yeah.
But the same principle applies. Give them that code so they don't have to then go up to reception, which is, usually nowhere near the bathroom. And it was just it's a combination of a number of factors that I've seen over the years.
When anyone's going to the bathroom, generally speaking, you don't leave a space for having to ring a telephone number to then be given a code to then input the code to then get in. That's presuming the phone's answered straight away. That's not how it works.
And just to point out as well, if you're a wheelchair user, and maybe this is a bit much for 10 to 10 in the morning, but if you can imagine once you actually gain access to the toilet, a person that isn't a wheelchair user would simply do what they need to do and it's done in seconds.
Yeah.
If you have to get up out of your wheelchair and position yourself onto the toilet, that's adding more and more minutes onto it. And it honestly, at this stage, it just enrages me. There's so many small things that people that aren't, people that don't have reduced mobility or wheelchair users wouldn't even notice. For example, in rooms, there's no hook on the back of the door. So especially coming into winter, you're wearing a coat, you want to take it off, whatever, you have bags, whatever. There's no hook. And 9 times out of 10, if there is a hook, it's at standing level. And it's the combination of these things that when I was seeing them in hotels, steps up to the front of the hotel, especially in cities because they're listed buildings, they just basically say the building is listed, there's nothing we can do. It's 2024, that's simply not good enough that if somebody that's in a wheelchair or has reduced mobility cannot join their family on a nice weekend away in this particular hotel because there's steps up to the front doors.
Just in relation to the rooms, Nikki, because I presume, I imagine they're fewer in number. Does that mean they come at a premium, or at least do hotels charge the same price for accessible rooms compared to the more plentiful rooms that perhaps aren't?
Yeah, I'm so glad you actually asked this because, again, I dealt with this about 3 weeks ago. I asked for an accessible room and I was told that it would cost more. And when I questioned this, they were basically said, well, the room is bigger, to which I replied, I'm not requesting a bigger room as a luxury. I'm requesting a bigger room as a necessity.
I take it they backed down eventually when you went. Did I presume they backed down?
Didn't. On this time, they didn't. And I haven't been back since. And I made it clear that I would have been using their hotel on a weekly basis for work. And as a result of this, that I wouldn't be going back.
I think you've been very gracious there because I think they actually probably, and I'm not this, name and shame. I wouldn't do it for the wrong reasons, I don't think. But I think a hotel that is charging someone for a bigger room, that actually really they should be saying, no, it's the same price. In other words, the reason it's bigger, it's for accessibility. So that's not justification for charging more, but you're not treating everyone equal.
It was described as an upgrade, which just absolutely baffled me. And then the other thing, and this is where we go back to why I felt the need to contact Fáilte Ireland and have this 3-star cap put in place, because at the design level of a hotel or at a refurbishment level, that is where people with lived experience really need to be brought in, because decisions are being made by people that do not have reduced mobility, and therefore things are being overlooked on a really regular basis. For example, the location of an accessible room from the elevator, and then the carpet getting you from the elevator to your room. So if you're a wheelchair user, and we've all seen the carpet, we want,
it's thick.
In normal life, we want that luxury, but wheeling across thick carpet.
No, it's like wheeling on a beach, and even if you're using a crutch as well, the give.
I imagine I'm pulling my suitcase.
Yeah, the give in it too would make it
one
difficult.
hand, crutch in another, and the room is at the far end of the hall.
Okay.
Now that the room should be right beside the elevator. Like these are somewhat simple things to do at the early stages, and this is exactly why I want to draw attention to this, because if we can get in at the early stage when a new hotel is being built, it's a lot harder to change a room size or to change a location in an accessible room once the hotel has been built, obviously. But at refurbishment stage or at a new build stage, this is where people with lived experience need to be at the decision making.
Of course, but with that in mind, and this is where it comes to legislation, and you're hoping to be a legislator post election in the Dáil. What are the planning guidelines? I mean, is this level of accessibility and some of the basic stuff, and it is basic, though very important to the people affected, are these conditions of planning now? So if there's a new hotel going to construction now, have we fixed these problems rather than sort of, after the fact trying to, penalise people with stars to encourage them to do this stuff?
No, so as far as I'm concerned, there isn't enough of these guidelines in place, and that needs to change. And it's something that I'm going to speak to basically anybody I need to make these changes, because I'm honestly, Greg, I'm sick and tired of people with disabilities being overlooked or considered as an afterthought. We need to. You're exactly right. We need to get in there from the very beginning.
Like there should be no hotel, no school, no public building that to be built at the moment that doesn't have fully accessible not just toilets, but actually changing facilities. Really, I can't understand how anything can go to construction now, particularly public, that does not have proper accessibility. I was talking to a listener last week whose husband now is a wheelchair user, and she lives in the east of the county, and half the buildings, at least, she says, that are run by the HSC, she can't actually access with any ease with her husband. You know, and that's HSE buildings. So whatever about the private sector, we need to be getting it right from a public sector. But just in the last couple of minutes...
But it's actually everywhere.
Yeah, of course, I know, but...
Really quickly give you an example of a clothes shop actually in Letterkenny. Now, it's a chain. I won't mention them, but it is a chain. It's a British chain, and they do have a really good-sized accessible changing room. They don't have... Now, bearing in mind, this is a clothes shop, so you're going in there for one reason. You're going in there to try on clothes. They don't have a single hook. Not one hook in this entire place. I've gone in there and had to put my own clothes as well as the clothes I wanted to try on the dirty floor because there was genuinely no other option for me. And they have one seat. So again, anybody in a wheelchair or someone like myself, I'll have to sit down if I want to be able to try on clothes because I have to take off my leg, blah, blah, blah. The seat is in the corner and it's stuck to the ground. So it's hard to explain this on the radio, but if you are sitting on a seat and you are trying on clothes, you need to lean back to be able to take on and off things.
Yeah,
it's just a natural thing that you do while seated. This is a block of wood stuck to the corner, the very corner of this little cubicle. It's, you know, again, it's another area where people that actually need this room haven't actually been considered at all. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a box ticking exercise where, yes, we have an accessible room, tick, let's move on. I'm not even convinced that they're being tested. They're just, yes, that looks fine. They're being overseen by people that do not have any type of disability, and therefore the things that they need to look out for are being overlooked constantly. And this is genuinely across the board. It's with our toilets are a big issue, but it's
big
everywhere.
in little things. It's big in little things too, and little things can be big things. Caller says shower
they
heads.
Really can. They can they can put an end to your day if you can't.
For sure.
You're out and about and you can't use a public bathroom, you'll have to go home.
Okay.
You know, otherwise we know what will happen. You know,
of course. Yeah.
And that's the end of. Depending on where you live, that could be an hour journey to get home, and you know, it's. And this is, I've spoken about this before. For a lot of people with disabilities, even going out and about and having that independence, that could be a conversation they've had to have with themselves that morning to force themselves out. We don't know what these people are going through. I know myself after my surgery that I had to force myself out of the house because I was worried if I didn't, I would never leave.
You become institutionalised in your
battles.
own space, Just, I have to go because of the time, but a caller says shower heads are always left at an inaccessible height in disabled bathrooms, so someone in a wheelchair cannot reach them. And that's
they're handheld. Yeah, they're handheld. That's another issue.
All right, we didn't really get to what I thought was the controversial element of this, and that's not giving more than 3 stars for hotels that don't comply. But anyway, I think the wider conversation is a very important one, and I appreciate you having it with us. Have a good day, Nikki. Take care of yourself.
You too, thanks.
Bye-bye. Fine Gael Senator Nikki Bradley, also Fine Gael General Election candidate.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
The effects of personal debt problems often go beyond just financial. What we don't want to face can cause us to unravel. Stress eats at you, relationships unwind. It can feel like life's falling apart, but support is available. Get back on track with the Insolvency Service of Ireland, an independent organisation that helps untangle personal debt problems. See backontrack.ie, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Irwin Expert Electrical Christmas Club is now open, so why not get ahead of the game and save yourself some stress this holiday season? Secure the most wanted gifts from iPads, phones, TVs, gaming monitors, smartwatches, and Dyson and Shark hair care with just a small deposit and then pay at your own pace. Don't wait until last minute. Call in and let us help make Christmas a breeze at Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
The Seamus Grant Festival, the 11th to the 13th of October, featuring Scottish supergroup Blazing Fiddles. Concerts, sessions, workshops, exhibitions and film show. For more information, go to our website, seamusgrantweekend.com, or check out our Facebook page. Concert tickets now available on Eventbrite. Clonmany, 11th to the 13th of October.
are planning a musical event just for you. Join us as we spend 3 nights in the luxurious Sleeve Russell Hotel Cavan from Monday the 3rd to Thursday the 6th of February 2025. You will enjoy luxury transfers, dinner, bed and breakfast and nightly entertainment with some of the very best names in country music, including Michael English, Robert Mazzell, David James, Olivia Douglas, myself Sinead Black and many more. Join us on Highland Radio's Cavan Country Getaway for just $4.89 per person sharing. Single supplement applies. Early booking advised by visiting the outlet on highlandradio.com or call us at 074 91 25,000 today.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. The mother of a Donegal woman who was raped and murdered in India in 2017 has expressed her frustration over what appears to be another delay in the trial. Andrea Brannigan was informed in September that the trial was expected to conclude within 10 days from now. However, the judge presiding over the case is now seeking an extension with a view to having the proceedings concluded later this month. Danielle McLaughlin, a native from Buncrana, was tragically killed in Goa just a month after her 28th birthday. Vigit Bagat was arrested and charged shortly after Danielle's body was discovered. However, his trial has faced numerous delays and adjournments since then. Ms Brannigan says she feels she cannot grieve her daughter's loss until the case is closed.
It's quite distressing because I was built up with this the first time. I was really hopeful that it was going to end. I was finally going to be able to grieve for Danielle because I haven't really been able to grieve properly for her because you're always constantly looking for updates, chatting to embassy people, chatting to lawyers. You're literally always on the go, and I thought I was finally going to be able to grieve, but it looks like it's been extended. It probably will be extended again. It's never ending for me.
Motorists are advised that the A5 remains closed with diversions now in place at Patrick Road, Ballymagorry and Woodend Road in Strabane. All traffic's been diverted via Donamana. Derry MLA Daniel McCrossan has taken to social media and he's asked for the public to be patient at this time as local authorities deal with a very serious incident. Scoil Nashanta and Braca in Ardra has been granted permission to proceed to the tender stage with its plans for an extension. The extension will include a special class for children with special education needs, a soft and hard play area, a sensory garden and 6 parking spaces. The project's being funded under the Department of Education's Additional School Accommodation Scheme. The move's been welcomed by Minister Charlie McConalogue, who commended all of the efforts of those involved. More needs to be done to combat the long waiting times faced by learner drivers looking to obtain their full licence. That's according to Letterkenny councillor Jerry McMonigal. In Donegal, there's over 9,500 learners in the county, with 1,600 of those waiting for a test. However, only 580 are scheduled to sit their driving tests. Councillor McMonigal says the long wait is putting more expense on young people.
Some of them have been given 4 months of a time frame before they'd be invited to sit their test, and then, as you say, when they look in the portal, that's extended maybe another month or 6 weeks, and they don't know what's happening. They're obviously out extra expense, and if they're travelling too, if they're lucky enough that there's a bus service that gets them to their work or their education centre at the times that they need to be there. So
€750,000 been allocated to 15 sport and community projects across Donegal. It's part of an €11.4 million investment across Ireland. The investment will support the development of sports and outdoor facilities such as playgrounds, astroturf pitches, running tracks and spectator stands. Each of the projects in the county has been granted €50,000 each. New funding for drug and alcohol services will see an emphasis put on prevention and awareness campaigns. An additional €40 million has been allocated in Budget 2025, with community-based initiatives to receive a €3 million boost. The number of drug-related deaths in 2021 dropped over 19% from the year before. Junior Minister at the Department of Health, Colin Burke, says continued investment is needed to continue the progress seen.
One death is a death too many. We need to continue to make sure that there is funding for all of the agencies that are assisting in this area and making sure that they get the support, not only in funding for providing service, but also the backup support from our health services.
To weather now, today there'll be a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers, some heavy, highest temperatures of 15 to 16 degrees in light to moderate southwest to west winds. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Monday morning, October 7th. The death has taken place of Rhoda Buchanan, nee Hunter, Soccer Trenta, Churchill. Rhoda's remains will repose at her late residence tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Funeral from there on Wednesday for service in Trenta Presbyterian Church at 2 p.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Susan Padmore, nee O'Reilly, 55, the Park Ballybuffet and formerly of Derry, reposing at her home, 55, the Park Ballybuffet, tomorrow from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m. Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Longtower, Derry on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Liam McCluskey, Ard Kierhan, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. His remains are reposing at his late home today from 12 noon until 9 p.m, with rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:30, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyrane, Letterkenny, for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass, which can be viewed by the parish YouTube channel. Interment afterwards in St Columba's Church Cemetery, Drummahole. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Society of St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Edna Sweeney, nee McEnany, 39, Ardnelly Park, Strabane, and formerly of Glebe Sion Mills, reposing at her home. Funeral leaving her home tomorrow morning at 9:15 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Melmount at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Anthony Tony Toy, 14, The Grange, Letterkenny, reposing at his late residence from 12 p.m. to 10 o'clock today. Rosary is at 9 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow at 11 a.m. in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in Conwall Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on steunanscathedral.ie. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, please. The death has occurred of Eileen Fletcher, 11, Clun Wurra Buncrana, reposing at her home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining graveyard. Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has taken place of Madge McBride, Maggie Dan, Brinlack, reposing at her late residence. Rosary at 8 p.m. House private after Rosary until 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass will take place in St Columbkille's Church, Knockfalla, at 12 noon tomorrow, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice. Funeral Mass can be viewed on Kieran Rorty, Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has taken place of Francis Frank Harrigan, Drung, Quigley's Point, reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for 11 a.m. Funeral Mass in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by interment in Drung Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight, please. The death has taken place of George Charles Snodgrass, 3, Loher Road, Sion Mills. Funeral leaving his late home this afternoon at 12:15, followed by a service of thanksgiving for his life in Strabane Presbyterian Church at 1 p.m. Burial afterwards in Yerney Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to Masonic Benevolent Fund or Strabane Rugby Club, care of Mrs. Ruth Hay, Funeral Director, 24A Church Road, Altnagelvin. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio.
Tá gá irid seansag páistí an flua áil agus atáid daoine fásta. Rud a déach a bheith ina chúiscinis chun cúisig. Tá gach páiste idir gábhlín agus 7 mlína déag díis in an vaccín flú sróna áil sé an eisce. Is bealach sa bháilte agus éfachtach atá an soc in iad a cosint, chun maid leis an cuid eile den teilech. Jane cuine le a Dr. Generalta nó le a Fotagéir. Tile óla sé ar fáil ag hsc.ie/flu on HSC.
Good morning. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Thank you so much for sticking with us here. Still another interesting couple of hours to go. Lots of your comments coming in, which is great to see. A caller says, the government has wrecked this wee country of ours. It used to be that anyone that had a small boat could put out 20 or 30 lobster pots to try and make an extra bit of cash. But now you can't do that. You have to have a commercial fishing license. And to do that, and you have to have your boat registered. And that costs a ridiculous amount of money and nobody can afford it. And then you have to have a couple of life jackets and special devices that trigger. I presume the motivation is to make it more safe, but I can understand why people feel like they're being legislated out of doing stuff. My small business was also refused the grant due to arrears of rates. I'm paying regularly and arrears are reducing. I earn €450 a week, no staff, rates of $3,000 a year, not based on turnover, salary, no profit. So stressful. I would love to see the local authority where it can work with businesses like this, because, you know, they're the forgotten they're the forgotten ones often, I think, when we say, you know, not when we say, but when it's announced that there's these supports for businesses and that supports for business. And if it's based on being fully up to date with your rates, I think it's unfair. If you are engaging with the council and paying regularly, you know, and even writing down or reducing your rates, I think those benefits should still be there to try and keep these people employed. Why don't they open more test centres in Donegal instead of having to go to Letterkenny or Donegal town? They could open 1 million of them. It's like hospital beds. You can have 1 million hospital beds, but you need them staffed, and staffing seems to be the issue. There's enough hours in the day if they have enough staff to get everyone through there. Those two, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying it's not that the centres are necessarily running to capacity. There's not enough testers. There's nothing to stop 5 testers going out at the same time from Donegal town or Letterkenny, I'm sure. Hi, Jerry. We have no motorways or 120 kilometre roads. I know, but we do travel outside the county, and there are motorways and roads that you can do 120 kilometres on. We do leave our beautiful county from time to time. A caller says, we're not teaching young learner drivers what they need to know. Everyone needs advanced driver training. To get rid of the backlog, we need to be doing driving tests at the weekend and until late in the evening. Driving testers should be given a bonus for doing this. Hi, Greg. I'd like to mention our defence forces that are in Lebanon. All troops should have been withdrawn with immediate effect. This mission is now over in terms of what these troops can do. It's very possible they could be fired upon or one of these airstrikes lands near their bunker. You will have rogue individuals from both sides that will use our troops as human shields from attacks. Micheál Martin should be pulling all forces out and protect our troops at all costs. I mean, you know, people might say that Israelis are in a no-lose situation in basing themselves close to the Irish troops. If they're bombed by the opposition, I hope that, God forbid, if anything like that would happen, that it wouldn't be to their advantage in terms of the public mindset on what's going on there, and B, maybe they won't be attacked if they're close to that area, and they are using the Irish Defence Forces as something of a deterrent to Hezbollah. Either way, it plays well for the Israelis and not very well for our men and women. I'm not saying that's the motivation, but someone might look at it and go, well, why are you there? Yes, you've asked them to leave, but you know they're not leaving. It's quite worrying. Greg, I read this morning and I laughed to myself. Only 20% of those who may be eligible for the €1,000 renter's tax credit have claimed it so far this year. Approximately 70,580 taxpayers have claimed it this year, even though about 400,000 are eligible. I am single and saving for a mortgage while renting. Each landlord refused to give me a receipt for the rent because most only want cash in hand, which leaves me and many others unable to claim this tax back. And they are in control because if I don't accept it, they'll find a renter who will. Yep, damned if you do and damned if you don't. What an awful situation to find yourself in. What do you do in that listener's perspective? Because they have us. Obviously, there are 10 people waiting to rent a property that you're in. If your landlord, and I'm not saying all landlords do this, will only take cash and won't give you a receipt, you're not eligible for that €1,000 renter's tax credit. What do you do in that situation? What could you or can you do? A few weeks ago, a doctor was on the 9 till noon show discussing air quality and air filtration systems. I'd like her to discuss Legionnaire's disease. Heat pumps and air filtration systems are a big cause of this disease, claims this listener. Electricians are disabling heating elements. This means that the water is not hot enough to kill the disease. There's a lot in that. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about that, to be honest with you. Just a couple more before we get to a break. A caller wants to know, how does a brother get €25,000 from another brother if the brother won't pay? This has been going on for 25 years. Every time I ask, he says the cheque has been written. It's a tough one. We've covered similar stories to this in our legal questions feature with Seamus, and it's a tough one. There are ways you can go about it through legal systems, but I mean, do you have any documentation to say that this person owes you the money? Any form of contract, or is anything written down? It would be useful. I would argue it might be actually essential for you to progress it. Other than that, I think the cheque could be forever in the post. Hi, Greg. When past your driving test, you either get 1 or 2 lessons, or one of your family to you out for a out for a few runs. That's the way it was. Yeah, it is. I know, but times are different. Regarding the Christmas tree up now, I know families who put it up at Halloween tree and fleet their grandchildren to help them, get their grandchildren to help them. They exchange lights, decorations, etc. for a Christmas tree. Nothing wrong, as grandkids love it. Oh, that's kind of cool. So they put the tree up and decorate it as a Halloween tree, and then switch it over to a Christmas tree. If it makes you happy, I don't mind. It's fine. Hi, there's a Christmas tree. There's Christmas tree up a house in a particular area. I won't say where it is because it's obviously going to be one person. It's up the last 3 weeks. I'd love to chat to them. As I say, I really don't have any issue with it. But for some people, it does kind of annoy them. Greg, no one knows why that family have up their Christmas tree. There could be someone not well who enjoys Christmas and may not be here at Christmas. It's not doing anyone any harm. Why can't we just live and let live anymore? And see, that's it. That could be someone who is at end of life and they want one last Christmas together. And that's why I don't get too caught up in it. It's normally a reason like that, isn't it? Hi, Greg. I was out for a peaceful walk last night at Inch Wildfowl Reserve. The quiet walk was disturbed by several birds enthusiasts shooting the birds from the causeway at Farland Point. I know it's a massive sport, but I don't really get the point of shooting harmless birds. That aside, is it permitted to shoot the birds in the bird sanctuary? I'd rather remain anonymous, of course, for reasons which they outline. I'm not really sure. I don't see the point in it. But that being said, I do like to fish, so I can't be too on my high horse about it because, if fish had wings, it wouldn't be too different, would it? I don't know. As I say, it's not something that interests me very much. But A, can they shoot these birds if they are indeed shooting them at this reserve? They may be shooting in the vicinity. And B, is it permitted at this time of year? A couple of questions there. I'm sure someone out there will know the answer. Hi, has there been any recent developments to stop the cutting down of the 90-year-old Ballyrain native oak coming from Donegal County Council, which sadly wants the native oak tree cut down and simply cannot see the light and appears to be hiding? Again, is that not the TII? Caroline's responsible for that oak tree. It's not the council, is it? The council aren't going to be responsible for those type of road works. I doubt they would be. I actually didn't realise I know this tree quite well. We never dated or anything. But I actually didn't realise I knew its location. And it is really quite significant and distinctive there. And I can kind of see why, in terms of improving the flow of traffic there, that it may need to go. But still, there has to be an alternative, does there? Or maybe there doesn't. Let us know what you think. All right, we'll be back with more after these messages.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 7th of October. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 41. The numbers are 55, 26, 61, 51, 82, 31, 57, 9, 40, And finally, 7. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine. A safe and effective way to protect them, and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
And you're very welcome back following the commercial break. Right, okay. Apparently, there are instances of, well, it's not apparently, I've seen the images of antisocial behaviour in Falcarra. Local councillor Michael McClafferty is back on the show to discuss this. What happened, Michael? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Morning, listeners. Basically, what happened here, Greg, was just as the photos show there, somebody or a number of people, whatever, it's unclear, but anyway, a number of people possibly were involved in here due to what happened there, and basically they emptied the bottle banks there in Falcarra Saturday morning there at can banks outside Falcarra Chapel and that there. So obviously people got up going to work and whatnot on Saturday morning. That was facing them as you come into the town, because we'd struggled there for a long time to get a place for the bottle banks. They used to be further up the town then, just circumstances changed then, and they got moved down there roughly about a year ago now into the Chapel car park there. Father Boyce kindly allowed the car park to be used for it. So that was grand, everything was going well, everything was working out fine. People are obviously doing the right thing, going there, emptying their cans, bottles, so on, etc. And then for some reason then, unknown to us, late Friday night, early Saturday morning, this happened then. But like, I just want to point out, bad and all as this was on Saturday morning, like, this is no reflection on Falcarra town itself. Like, they're very good people in Falcarra town there. You know, there's a number of people there, tidy townspeople there on the steering group there, Mary Boyle, McGarvey and that. They do tremendous work there, Greg. They go out mostly every Sunday doing stuff and around the town. They usually then organise then every so often then they go a couple of miles outside the town on arranged days gathering rubbish. We have the CE workers there as well under the guidance of Kevin Barrett that have to say alongside the volunteers does exceptional work. It was no different to Saturday morning when this happened. Again, Mary Boyle got her, and people going to the park run. Volunteers landed, gathered up the cans, and that the council as well landed then as well alongside them. Council got the bottle banks back in place, swept the road, tied up everything that's good, left it all as it should be. So again, like the good spirit came out immediately there in Falcarra on Saturday morning after obviously people were alerted. I alerted the council myself and the guards and so on to make them aware. And then the volunteers alongside the council landed then to take care of things then on an official capacity then. And look, we got things back in place again, everything's nice and tidy again, and hopefully stay that way going forward. But we just want to get the message out this morning, Greg. Look, whatever was the reason behind this, obviously I haven't a clue.
Reason. It's just people being idiots. I mean, it must have took it certainly didn't take one or two people to do this either. That was a group of individuals did this.
Yes, you're right, Greg. There's no question about it. There are a group of people involved here. And like, you have to question, what was the mindset of the group of people involved that went there actually, obviously clearly in their mind to go and do that, because, you know, you don't just suddenly arrive and decide then, well, know what, we'll heal over these bottle banks, like throw them onto the N56 and so on, throw them onto the Chapel car park. Like, this could have turned into a really nasty situation. Now, thankfully, between the swift action, as I say, of the council, council and the local volunteers. It didn't, but it could have. And as I always say, prevention is better than cure. But we shouldn't even be talking about this morning. We should be talking about the positive things that's happening there this morning. There's an allocation of 50,000 there for a walking sale not going around Falcara there. Further on over then, just outside Falcara, then we're already, there's 50,000 with a car park there. Falcara town itself, no more than any other town throughout Donegal, Greg. They're small areas, small net communities. Everybody knows everybody pretty much. They're trying their best to stay afloat. The town itself, the business owners and so on, business-wise, they're catering for tourists all year round. Everybody is trying to do their bit and some of them beyond the Call of Duty, to be fair as well, to make the town and the area surrounding it, Greg, the community, look nice and presentable when people land. And it's at that stage again.
So when did this happen, Michael? Because listen, I would guess it took at least 4 people to do this, at least 4. Because first,
obviously,
I mean, when did it happen? Because maybe the CCTV footage, and look, we're not talking the crime of the century here, but this kind of behaviour needs to be discouraged. There's bound to be some CCTV footage. So when did it actually happen?
Well, as far as I'm aware, Greg, early on Saturday morning. That's all I know.
So Friday night, Saturday morning.
Friday night, Saturday morning.
Okay.
Saturday morning, I was there to the early Saturday morning, so. Obviously, under the cover of darkness, clearly, possibly what happened here, more than likely, according to the time frame that I was contacted on Monday, I would say under the cover of darkness that it did happen. But at the same time, you're right, Greg. We can't sweep it under the carpet either, such that it has happened. It has to be highlighted. It has to be acknowledged that it happened. And as we say, just going forward, we just don't want this or any other kind of antisocial or vandalism going forward either. Such because calling a spade, it is vandalism. There's no other question about it. It may not be the crime of the century, you point out, rightly so, but nonetheless, it's uncomfortable for people living in the area. Put it like that.
Of course it is, and block the footpath as well, and distraction for people using the roads and so on and so forth. All right, okay. Well, we'll see what comes of it. Michael, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Take care.
Bye-bye. Take care. A caller says it took some strength to do that. It was more like a group of drunk thugs. Was there no CCTV evidence? Can you recycle cans in those machines, can you? Can you recycle beer cans in them? Some amount of money of cans lying there if you can. Caller says, what's the story with closing the roads for this rally again? There are schools en route and cars are flying up and down. They're covered in potholes and they'll need to be repaired again after this. Will we ever get a break from the rally? I don't think that's the annual rally that you're referencing. Is that the Harvest Rally? I'd have to be corrected on that. We're going to be talking GEA later on with Brendan Devaney. By the way, he and Porrick are out and about this evening, I believe, as they look forward to the county final next weekend. But of course, there were some big games at the weekend as well, too. So if you're out and about watching football and you have any commentary or anything you want to say in that, get involved in that conversation as well. This is a conversation, or this is a show where we have many conversations. Maybe you're a Manchester United fan. I watched them on Sunday, and this is not... I don't have a team, so I'm not necessarily like a Liverpool supporter having to go at Manchester United fans, but my God, they're poor. They are so hard to watch, and a long way away from the glory years, and you wonder how they'll ever get back to it. But I also watched Man City v Fulham at the weekend. Man City won that game, but Fulham are a great team to watch, and I think Manchester United fans wouldn't be as upset with where they are in the league if they actually went out and played, decent football, at least going out on your shield or your sword. I don't know if that's something you want to talk about either. Let us know. Let people alone, or leave people alone if they're not affecting you or your property. Mind your own business. Try smiling instead of criticism. Yeah, and I don't think, as well, I think when someone sort of spots a tree up and they think it's too early, I don't think there's any hate in the heart when they're saying, "My God, it's very early for that" either. It just happens, and I don't think there's any really bad intent in making that observation. A caller says, read the soldiers in the Lebanon. I totally agree that they should be brought home. This is not our war and we should not be there. But I mean, they've been there traditionally for an awful long time as peacekeepers, and it was never our war. But they were there to try and maintain at least a safe area for regular people like us living over there to get on with their lives. So it was never our war, but many people went over there on more than one occasion as well, because it is our world collectively and we have to share it. So, but anyway, I appreciate it. We're going to head to Killybegs shortly. Let's take this quick break first.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
You can't beat the sound of a contented cat. That's why veterinary surgeon and natural pet food pioneer John Burns developed Burns Pet Nutrition, because he knows the positive impact a natural diet has on our beloved pets. And our premium cat food is designed to satisfy even the most finicky eaters. For natural, no nasty, wholesome recipes, choose Burns Pet Nutrition. Available from veterinary clinics and all good pet shops across Ireland.
Winter's coming, and Screwfix knows warmth and savings are a must. Buy any Flowmaster Convector radiator and get a TRV worth $25.45 for free, so you can unzip that extra big insulated winter jacket. Get great value heating supplies at Screwfix. Prices valid until 3rd of November, subject to availability. See screwfix.ie for full T's and C's.
Driving that ignites the senses. Design that defies convention. Power that moves you. Discover it all at the Cooper Obsession Sales Event. From October 1st to 11th, you can enjoy specification upgrades on the new Fermentor and Leon, or boost your SEAI grant to €7,000 on the all-electric Born. Explore the full Cooper range, including electric, plug-in hybrid, petrol or diesel. Visit cooperofficial.ie to find your obsession. Terms and conditions apply.
Your local Cupra dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 97 21396.
This is Peter Power with an urgent appeal for UNICEF. Children in Gaza and Lebanon are under attack. In Lebanon, 1 million people have already had to flee for their lives. In Gaza, the ongoing bombardment has left 1 million children without a home. UNICEF is on the ground providing life-saving water, medical supplies and warm blankets. Please visit unicef.ie to rush a life-saving gift to children in Lebanon and Gaza. Thank you.
You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
Now we're joined on the programme by Kevin Hegarty, a member of the Community Council and business owner in Killybegs. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Greg.
Good to have you on the show. Right, you are a business owner too on the main street in Killybegs, and is business being interrupted by a lack of parking spaces, or perhaps maybe the parking spaces being used not by customers?
Yeah, we'll go back to March 2023. The work started the town for a town centre regeneration project. We're led to believe from the start, we're actually given assurance by Donegal County Council that this will be done in stages. It wasn't the case, and it led to the car park being closed for up in a year. It just recently opened about 3 weeks ago. Footfall nosedived throughout that period. Some business seeing up to a 30% reduction in turnover. We all know how tough business is now. It's challenging times. One business has closed recently. The increased business costs we're facing, we just had to do something about it. You know, our wage costs probably over the last few years up 30%. Energy's up over 50%. Seen double-digit inflation. Probably I've never seen in my lifetime. It's led to the household basket being increased. We knew we had to do something to try and sort it out and to bring footfall back to the town centre.
And do you think, Kevin, in the absence of the car park, people's parking habits change so that you might have business owners or indeed their staff, you know, parking on the main street and maybe need to break that habit again and free that up for those intending to travel into Killybegs or passing trade to pull in?
Yeah, that's right. We came up with a parking initiative, myself and another business owner in the town, went around the businesses and just really asked the owners and employees to find alternative parking. So basically could keep the main street and the car park available to customers. Probably this seen 3 full weeks now, this in operation, and there has been an improvement, all right.
Good.
But the way I look at that, it's a given that owners should be doing that themselves.
Yeah.
And your employees they have the right, they're entitled to park wherever they want. But I think for the overall benefit of their own business and others, I think it'd just be appreciated if all employees would come on board this.
And there's different businesses that operate in different ways as well too. Like, if you're a convenience store or a shop or a takeaway or something, it is the car pulling in, purchase and pulling off. If you're I don't want to mention any businesses because it's a small business community. I wasn't going to mention them by name, but even the type of business. But I think really what it needs is cross-consideration to understand that certain types of business need this almost drop-off, this convenience parking for them to. And you see it in the bottom line. We don't think about that often, do we, Kevin? Do you know what I mean? You see a change in parking facilities, and then you look at your accounts after a month, after 6 months, and then after a year, and you can literally see the impact those changes have had on the income, which is shocking, really, actually. Because as consumers, non-business owners, we might not think like that sometimes.
Yeah. Listen, I can only speak for myself, but my own business, I've noticed a big drop off in turnover. It's worrying. You have to do things to turn it around. And listen, everybody's a winner here. Like every business wins. If there's more parking, increases footfall.
What's the sentiment like in Killybegs at the moment, Kevin? Not just with you, but generally within the community. I mean, obviously, it's not the thriving fishing port it might not perhaps once was. An awful lot seems to be made about it being a destination or a stop-off point for cruise ships and that type of stuff. There has been investment in improving the visuals, I suppose, of Killybegs. Is it a town that you feel is on the up? Or does it need something to breathe life back into it? It's a completely open-ended question because I have no idea what the answer is, Kevin.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, Killybegs, it's a great community. Killybegs, even back in the recessionary times, Killybegs was still booming. There's a lot of employment created in the town. I suppose the fishing is going back. It's well back in previous years. I think tourism has improved. Probably we're more into that now. Listen, it's not the town that it used to be.
Yeah.
But like every towns they're all struggling now. But the last thing we want to see in our towns is businesses closing.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah.
And of course, too, it's about the powers that be ensuring that Killybegs is seen as a destination, a tourism destination, because once you're relying more on tourism, that window narrows of when businesses, are making money to get them through the tougher winter months too.
Yeah, well, your winter months can be busy enough around Killybegs because that's when the fishing season kicks off.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, okay, good stuff.
It was 1-1 for everybody.
All right, Kevin, listen, sorry, general question. It was just to get a wee insight from you as a business owner there. And it's a polite request, and a rising tide lifts all boats, that if business owners, and particularly their staff, of course, use alternative parking, leave the main street clearer, it will help to maintain business and keep them afloat, actually, and keep them in business. All right, Kevin, listen, thanks for your time. Best wishes. Take care.
That's perfect. All right, Greg.
Bye-bye,
Thanks.
Kevin. That's Kevin Hegarty there. A business owner and a member of the community council. I would just like to know who, if anyone, watches the prices in grocery stores, says this listener. It is just awful. For example, started buying a brand of tea bags about 2 months ago. €7 for 160. Already have increased to $7.29. That's just one item. Yeah, and prices vary from store to store and the type of store that it is as well. I am pretty tight. I watch those things rather tightly, and I wouldn't be ashamed to shop around either. Right, you're being invited to join us for a fun evening of singing with the Ross's Ukulele Group and special guests. Wait for this for a lineup: Daniel O'Donnell and the Three Marys. It's in Sweeney's Hotel, Main Street, Dunlow, on Friday, the 11th of October. That's this coming Friday. It's at 9 p.m. Entry is just €10, and all proceeds on the night to Sinead Dugan for Dunlow GEA Skolmora Belcritch campaign. And Quid Games, what could 10,000 do for your club or organisation? Is that separate? I think that's just actually on the poster, and it's part of the wider thing. Sounds fun though, Quid Games. See what they did there? They dropped the S. Anyway, that's this coming Friday night. Sounds like great fun. The Three Marys, I love them to bits. And Daniel O'Donnell, we all know Daniel. It's the Ross's Ukulele Group as well, and it's in Sweeney's Hotel, Main Street, Dunlow, Friday, 11th of October at 9 p.m. And there's a couple of other things that I was asked to mention, which I will get to before the end of the show. It's hard to keep track of everything. We were asked this following question, and I'll give you answer now. Is it true that it's out to tender for the removal of the concrete barrier on the four-lane carriageway coming into Letterkenny? That was the question. Someone must have heard it. The answer is this. There are no plans to remove the median barrier on the four-lane road. So it must have been going around that there were plans to remove it, but no, that's staying in situ. It's staying put. Right, John Gallagher's with me now. Hi, John.
Imagine why he did kind of not happening. Great. Firstly, I suppose I would like to say that I believe in a single state solution to the trouble in the Middle East.
What is it for those who may not be aware? Because people hear, two states. What is a single state solution to the crisis in the Middle East at the moment?
The dual state solution is propagated by, I suppose, the Americans.
Yeah.
Is a state is a land of Palestine being shared by native Palestinians and imported or planted or whatever phrase you want to use, Zionist or Jewish people from, in essence, all over the world, mainly America, parts of Ukraine, parts of Europe. My belief is that, especially in the last 12 months, the Israeli people, the Jewish people, or indeed Zionists, do not deserve to have a state. So therefore, that's why I believe in a single-state solution. And when I make reference to a single-state solution, that is a free Palestine that stretches from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. And again, people...
And what does that mean for Israelis or Jewish people in a single-state world, John?
As I have, if they want to stay as part of Palestine, happy days. However, their state is a rogue state. It was formed, I think, in May 1948, and subsequent decades, Israelis or Zionists, backed mainly by the Americans, less so, I suppose, by the British and the French and other European countries, have propped up, which is in essence a rogue state. They have propped up a terrorist state that conducts and has conducted many crimes against humanity. For example, the month before Hamas attacked Israel, I think there was in the region of 200 Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza killed by either Israeli militias or Israeli settlers in the West Bank. So I don't believe that there can be a dual state or two-state solution, or at least Israel should move back to the borders of the pre-1967 6-day conflict, I think it was, between mainly Egypt and other Arab countries such as Jordan and Syria. After 1967, Israel took hold of the Golan Heights, East Jerusalem, and other areas of Palestine. Again, in 1973, the conflict with other Arab nations, they were the agitators. That war lasted 6 weeks. Again, I think it was in October of 1973. So it's Israel that's the agitator in all of this. Again, I can reference many atrocities.
But just in relation to that, John, and I suppose it's like everything with history, we can go back to whichever point might suit our argument. I don't have a particular argument in relation to this. I think what's happening there at the moment is absolutely horrendous. And even even the bombing at night time, which is psychological warfare, because it doesn't allow any respite at all for regular civilians, whatever about armed combatants. But John, some might say that whilst it might not have garnered a great deal of coverage, that for the last 12 months and for many years before that Israel's been subjected to rocket attacks from the north, the east, and elsewhere as well. And even though most people, I don't think, would think their response is proportionate, that this is retaliation for those years of bombardment.
But again, Greg, a lot of people seem to forget that the Israeli state is a rogue state. It's a state that shouldn't exist. It was some people again are under the impression it was out of empathy after the Second World War that the Israeli state was formed. It wasn't. There were plans for an Israeli state going back as far as 1917, when there was a British Foreign Minister, Balfour at the time, contacted one of the leading Jewish community members, and I think he was Rothschild was his name. Their belief was that their belief for an Israeli state back then was to garner support amongst the Jewish, or financial support amongst the Jewish community for the First World War. So this isn't a new thing. It's a false state. It's a rogue state that was formed.
But John, I take your point, and there's many would agree with you. But what I can't understand, and genuinely can't understand, and this is me coming from a position of ignorance, is that much of Gaza has been completely destroyed now. So even if it were a single state solution, that part of the world is completely destroyed now. Beirut's also now taking a hammering, and God knows what's going to happen between Iran and Israel. They do that. Even this morning, Micheál Martin released a very long press release referencing the attacks of last year, which were horrendous. I think most people would agree. But my point I'm getting to is that Israel is doing everything that it wishes to do with, and I think if you're not opposed to what they're doing, you're supporting what they're doing with the support of much of the international community that we're exposed to. Britain, Europe, America, you know where I'm coming from. Obviously, there are other states they're opposing it, but they can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter if they blow up a school in Gaza yesterday, killing 18 people, God knows how many children. It doesn't matter if they wipe out 300 or 400 people because there's one Hezbollah person potentially in a building in Beirut. They can do whatever they wish. In fact, they can literally do whatever they want in Gaza at the moment because everyone's watching what they're doing in Lebanon. And the world stands by and watches it. Why is that?
I think anybody in when it comes to any conflict or any act of occupation or oppression by somebody remaining silent or simply standing idly by, they are culpable in acceptance of wrong. They're culpable in acceptance of evil. And I think if we didn't have the Americans backing the Israelis, they wouldn't have the capacity to do the grave wrongs that they're doing. And it's an utter shame that, for example, the Irish community of whatever 40 million are so silent, and indeed by their silence are culpable in genocide and culpable in mass murder.
I think part of the problem in relation to that is America at this point is so entrenched in its red or blue, or it's so entrenched in its Republic or Democrats that regular people refuse to step outside that. If you're a Harris supporter, Donald Trump is so bad that you can only focus on that and vice versa. And all the while, they are actually not protesting, not taking a stand, not making a point that what's happening in Israel is so wrong.
If you're not prepared to take a stand against evil or against wrong, you're weak. You lack passion. You lack depth. You're a shallow individual.
That's observation, John. Like, we need to also try and establish why the world is standing back and allowing this happen. You know, I mean, we know a lot of people know what should be the case, right? But we also have to consider why we are in this situation in the world right now.
For example, one of your researchers had a conversation with me before I came on here, and she referenced, did I know Palestinians? I've met, and Greg, at the risk of being nasty, have you spoken? There's a good sized Palestinian community in Letterkenny. Have you spoken to any of those people?
Yes, they've been on the show. They've been on the show on numerous occasions.
Have you spoken to those people before October the 7th?
Yes.
Have you? And more often than not, they have told of frightening stories of what the Israelis have been doing, not just for the past number of years or they have been doing it for decades. This is not acceptable. For example, as a student many years ago, I was in the Irish apartheid movement, anti-apartheid movement, and every country across the world boycotted.
John, I get where you're coming from, and I know exactly where you're going with that. And to answer your question, I've spoken to Palestinians on this program, post and pre October 7th. But I also want to challenge you on one thing too, because your comments, and I think this is maybe somewhat what's wrong with the world today. You sound very much anti-Jew, to the point whereby, whatever, regardless of how it's done, the Jewish people need to be chased from Israel effectively. I mean, that's anti.
Well,
do you admit that your comments sound anti-Semitic, because you seem to be you're grouping an entire group of individuals. And their kids, they've got kids as well, they've got babies as well, and you seem to want them wiped off the face of the planet wherever they go, as long as they accept a one-state solution.
With respect, Greg, I didn't reference their needing to be wiped off the planet. I do believe there isn't a space for them in Palestine currently, for the simple reason of their especially their behaviour, and it's gone without.
But there's 9 million people, John. You can't speak to all of their beliefs, and many more around the world.
And there are also 6 million Palestinians displaced across the world.
I know, John, but that's why.
Towards 7 million. Over 6, sorry.
Yeah, but your solution,
so
I get what, but your solution really effectively is people might say it sounds very anti-Semitic, John. Do you know what I mean? Like, is the solution not the two-state solution, not whereby both groups of individuals can share the land?
Well, do you honestly believe, after the atrocities committed by the Israelis, by the Zionists over the past 12 months, do you honestly believe that Palestinians and Zionists and Israelis can live side by side? Do you honestly believe that? And again, with respect, that is a naive thought, it's a naive belief. If you believe that somebody that commits, kills, slaughters your entire family, and you're the only one left, for example, that you can live side by side by the people that committed such atrocities.
But innocence to me, whether they're of a Jewish background, Palestinian background, whatever it might be. What horrifies me about what's going on in this world at the moment is innocent people being blown to bits. Your solution to me, John, sounds like all of a sudden it would be the innocent Jewish women and children and fellas that haven't taken up arms that would effectively they would be chased out of the one state. There's no way Palestinians would care to live side by side to Israelis. So a one-state solution effectively means, by force or otherwise, that we would be seeing the same type of atrocities in the other direction.
But Camille, you said by force or otherwise. The Israeli state wouldn't exist today. Only it was formed by the actions by force. So in essence, kind of what you were saying, it's okay for the Israelis to form their rogue state by force, but wouldn't be okay for Palestinians.
It's not see, this is the problem with the world. It's not very for anyone. It's not for to defend the rights to defend the rights of the Palestinians, to condemn an entire nation of others, be they Jewish or otherwise. That's not a solution. That's revenge. That's what got us here in the first place.
Yeah, but I'm not sure you're familiar with the phrase "wandering Jew," and there's a phrase, and maybe it's okay, maybe it's used loosely, but there's the phrase "wandering Jew," and the reference is that the Jewish people, for some reason or other, were to wander the place without a homeland, without a place that they could call.
Yeah, that's not real. That's not a real thing. That's derived from a myth, is it not? Going back to biblical times.
When it's referenced, it is real, you know.
Anyway.
But your contributor asked me, or your colleague asked me earlier, why I have a belief in Palestine, and what made me believe that there should be simply a free Palestine from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea. Ariel Sharon in 1982 sanctioned the Lebanese Christian militias to go into Shabra and Shatila refugee camps where there were Palestinians taking shelter, and this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an airstrike that simply that you could say went wrong. This was systematic murder of men, women, and children.
Which is exactly what we saw 2 years ago today, or 1 year ago today, John. It was under the cover of rockets. People went in there and massacred in excess of 1,000 people, only because of their religion and where they lived, and they took another 250 women, children. It didn't matter. They treated bodies and people like nothing. You wouldn't even say in an abattoir.
Again, I don't believe anybody is accepting their methods were correct. However, it wasn't a primary action. People seem to think, Hamas woke up on the 7th of October and said simply, we'll invade.
So you defend
Israel,
that, do you? Are you defending what happened last October?
I don't believe it was a primary action.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean in layman's terms?
A primary action is something you do without reason, without mitigation.
I find it, John. Though, I'll be honest with you. It's just I have to finish anyway because we're approaching the news. But to be honest with you, any justification of that, I find it very, very uncomfortable.
A primary action. It was a reaction.
We're talking about human beings here, John. We're talking about human beings.
Absolutely.
And if we keep going the way we're going, all right, I would be as disgusted at the same kind of abuse of civilians, women, and children.
If you condemn solely and you passionately condemn one side for an evil or for an atrocity, you have to equally.
Yeah, that's what I've done, but you haven't. You see, I have, but you haven't.
Vocal about that.
But John, I have condemned them equally, but you haven't. That's the difference. All right, John. Listen, I do have to break for the news. I appreciate speaking to you. You speaking to me. Take care.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Seasonal loans now available for Christmas. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Get ready for Downing's GA Club helicopter ball drop on October 26th. We're dropping 5 footballs from a helicopter, and if one lands in your square on the pitch, you could win a massive €25,000. All proceeds go towards installing floodlights for our youth team and other developments. So it's for a great cause. With 10 prizes up for grabs worth a total of €35,000, this is an event you don't want to miss. Get your tickets now at helicopterdrop.ie. That's helicopterdrop.ie. Don't miss your chance to win big.
You are the heart of your farm. Your fields, your livestock, your family all depend on you. But to take care of them, you need to take care of yourself. Free health checks are coming to marts and events near you, making it easy to look after your health. Prioritise your health today. Visit ifa.ie/health check for more details. Because you are the heart of your farm. This is an IFA initiative supported by CRE and funded by the Department of Agriculture.
Virgin Media customers make the right call with exclusive offers on mobile. Like our unlimited multi-SIM plan for just €15 a month per person. And enjoy 99% coverage on a 30-day contract. Switch in-store or at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Customer unlimited multi-SIM €15 per person while Virgin Media broadband and or TV is active. Applies to 2 to 6 mobile subscriptions. For T's&C's, see virginmobile.ie.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience.
Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. If you haven't started using the McElhinney's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. Coming up shortly, Brendan Devaney will be in studio reflecting on the weekend's GEA action and looking forward to a big weekend next weekend, of course. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A West Tyrone MLA has asked that the public be patient with local authorities as they deal with a serious incident in the village of Ballymagory. The A5 was closed this morning and remains so, with diversions in place at Patrick Road, Ballymagory and Woodend Road, Strabane. MLA Daniel McCrossan shared that the closure will take time and assured road users to seek alternative routes if possible. The mother of a Donegal woman who was raped and murdered in India in 2017 has expressed her frustration over what appears to be another delay in the trial. Andrea Brannigan was informed in September that the trial was expected to conclude within 10 days from now. However, the judge presiding over the case is now seeking an extension with a view to having proceedings concluded later this month. Danielle McLaughlin, a native of Buncrana, was tragically killed in Goa just a month after her 28th birthday. More needs to be done to combat the long waiting times faced by learner drivers looking to obtain their full licence. That's according to Letterkenny councillor Jerry McMonigal. In Donegal, there's over 9,500 learner drivers, 16 of which are waiting for their test. Only 580 are scheduled to actually sit it. Hezbollah has fired rockets into Israel on the anniversary of the October 7th attacks in the country. The militant group targeted the city of Haifa, with projectiles injuring a number of people in the northern city. The Israeli military continue to carry out airstrikes in Beirut, along with targets in the south of the country, where the Irish Defence Force soldiers are serving as part of a UNIFIL mission. €750,000 has been allocated to 15 sport and community projects across Donegal. It's part of an £11.4 million investment across the country. The investment will support the development of sports and outdoor facilities such as playgrounds, astroturf pitches, running tracks and spectator stands. And finally, Scoil Nashington Ibreha in Ardra has been granted permission to proceed to the tender stage with plans for an extension. The extension will include a special class for children with special needs, a soft and hard play area, a sensory garden and 6 parking spaces. That's all for now from Highland Radio News. Back again with headlines at noon.
Thanks very much, Donna Marie. We'll be back with more after a break.
The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Do you know what suits a suitcase? Suits a suitcase like me. What's suitable for a dutiful piece of luggage like me? Shannon Airport knows precisely what exactly suits me nicely. So find out concisely at shannonairport.ie.
Affordable parking, easy access, seamless security and dream holiday destinations like Lanzarote, Paris and New York for a hassle-free airport experience for you and your suitcase. Start your dream holiday at shannonairport.ie.
Are you thinking of transferring the family farm? If so, Chagas are holding a Transferring the Family Farm clinic on Tuesday 8th of October in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is an opportunity to meet with local accountants, solicitors, mediators and other relevant parties to help you make a plan for the future. This is a free event and all are welcome. To register, contact Letterkenny Chagas office on 07491 21555.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at the Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Join Connolly's Audi Sligo for the 2025 Donegal Motor Show, taking place on Canal Road, Letterkenny from Monday, October 7th to Saturday, October 12th. Overtake your expectations with the 251 Audi range. Test drive Audi's new models, including the new A5 fully electric, Q6 e-tron or the A3 Sportback. Drive into 2025 with your brand new Audi from Connolly Motor Group. Register your interest at connellys.ie.
Your flu and COVID-19 vaccines will give your immune system the top-up it needs to help protect you from serious illness. A flu vaccine and COVID-19 vaccine is recommended for you if you're 60 or over, a healthcare worker, pregnant, or have a long-term health condition. Talk to a participating GP or pharmacist, or visit hsc.ie to see what vaccines are recommended for you. From the HSC.
Okay, Brendan Devaney is he's being released from the confines of the studio. He's heading to the clubhouse of the Rosses Park Dunlow. Whether he gets out of it or not remains to be seen. It's the deal debate. It's on the road. I'd say you're looking forward to going down there.
Definitely. As I was saying to you, Greg, I was actually a guest at their dinner dance last year. So, listen, great crew, great people. I know they don't know that so well over the years, and the club's slaying this season. You know, they're obviously, you know, they're into hurling. The ladies won the intermediate championship there, now the men's into the final. It's a huge occasion for them. It's hard to believe it's taken this long.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about yesterday. Great day for Termon. They got the double up.
Yeah, Junior A and Junior B, Intermediate A and B titles. Yeah, they're clean sweeping again. Their ladies flying this year, of course, won in the senior championship. Big day for them. We're looking at the games coming on the weekend, you know, particularly the big game was intermediate and the junior finals, and we were trying to make a case for teams and trying to figure them out. Now this one, we felt that Neve Columba would be up against it. Termon had given them a bit of a beating in the group stages, and you kind of thought that, you know, this would be difficult for them, and so it proved. You know, Termon were a bit ahead. The game never looked in any doubt, really. You know, very, very top class performance from Termon, which bodes well. Good on the Ulster and going up to senior next season.
Yeah, 1-6-3 at half time, wasn't it? It's hard to turn that about.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, Termon there, you look at work and I'm assessing teams all the time now, Greg. You can see, you know, you're on about S&C and you're on about how well drilled they are, tactically well set up, sweepers and breaking me pace, good forward line. So they had a mixture of everything. A couple of wee moments in the second half. Neve Columba were trying to force it, but they didn't really have any of the dynamic play that Termon had, and Termon knew they could sit on it a wee bit. Meant that the game fell into a wee bit of a lull at times.
There's 9-4 in that game. Sorry, I referenced the half-time score in the other match.
And you know, it's a final too. So listen, for me, I think Termon could have kept going at them. But that's the way I feel about everything. I'm wild attack based. I think to myself, if you get in the lead, just keep going. Now, they sit and they manage the game. It's a final. You're there to win it. So listen, hats off to them and well done.
Brilliant stuff. A couple other games too at the weekend.
Yeah, certainly. Looking at the Convoy, Convoy were playing in one of the it's an intermediate B final, and they came out on top against Cairndonagh in that. And then they
had a really good game, didn't they?
Yeah, in the junior A final then, the Neve Patrick Muff came through against Cairndonagh. And listen, talking about a well-drilled team, they give an awesome performance. No one could kind of pull these two teams apart. And I know Neve Patrick were playing in Division 2. They actually beat a couple of senior teams in it. But you're thinking, was that the league or how much did they put into it? But they were top class. Cairndonagh really had no answer for them, and against the breeze in the first half, you know, they were direct, they were strong, and big Kevin Lynch inside with the county man, Keelan McColgan. They had real presence inside there, and you know, the game was basically over at half time. So listen, brilliant performance from Neve Patrick and a club on the up and up.
You were at that game? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I was at the 2 games. Yeah. Listen, I guess from a neutral's perspective,
See, it was a first half game, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
after that, I suppose Lee Podrick cruising a little bit, and then you sort of see the frustration in the opposition. But a great first half.
I suppose you look at modern football now and how teams are set up. Kieran, you know, the way the lines and the banks that Niamh Patrick had, and then the breaking of pace, you got to actually match that. Your team needs to be set up that you're hard to beat initially. And as much as we talk about defences and that, you need a certain shape to your defence. It was too easy for Niamh Patrick to get in and around them. They could go direct, which they did early on, but then after that they didn't have to because they were finding enough space. So they carried on a line of play. Their defensive line was too high up the pitch, and Niamh Patrick were just coming through in waves. And like, we're full value for the victory, and it was more the same second half, really. So listen, again, for that team to be getting into Ulster, I think them and Termon, they'll have a real crack at them championships. And I think going into intermediate next year, Niamh Patrick, looking at what I seen yesterday, they'll be in the mix. They could step up again. Yeah.
Right. So tonight you're heading to the clubhouses at the Rosses Park in Dunlow. It's I think. It's great to see pairings, especially pairings that are a little bit different, but I think it's always great, and I think maybe this is what sucks the neutrals in if there's more of a story there, right? So St. Eunan's, right? But 6 decades since Dunlow appeared in this final. There's great stories there.
Yeah.
Now, how it plans out in the day remains to be seen.
Yeah, well, I'm looking to get a few people who was involved in that team.
Yeah.
I know Norm O'Cole is one of them, has been on to do a lot of stuff in Donegal GA, so we're going to get him in this evening and just a bit of talk about that, talk about the changing face of football. I'd say it'd be a great few stories from his time in terms of preparation and training and what they did then. But yeah, they've knocked on the door a few times. 2006, I think they were in a semi-final. It might have been 96 before, 2005, 2006. I'm going to ask the people tonight. There was 2 semi-finals there, but really never made a final. And for all the great players, of course, the 2 Swinneys, Eddie and Ray, I'm hoping they've in there tonight, Tony Boyle as well, and people like that. The amount of stars that they had, and they were always there or thereabouts. Like, they were always Division 1. They were always a decent team. They just, for some reason, normally what happens there is there's a season or two where you go up and it happens. I remember them winning the Division 1 title and that. So they were a good team. Like, so the fact that they didn't make a final is very strange. But here they are now. Nobody would expected it this year, and they're there in merit.
Well, here's a question for you, and it's an unfair question, and that's fine. In your view, what does Dunlow have to do to beat St. Eunan's?
Score more than Eunan's, yeah. Listen, I think with St. Eunan's, noticing this year, most teams play the same way against Eunan's. And listen, everybody, that's what I was saying about say, Karen Dunne and Niamh Patrick, is you all have to play a certain way. Now, for us, I think we're more attack-based.
Yeah.
Then people might say, well, use up certain players, you can do that. So I understand that there. I think for a lot of the top teams, I think there should be more of an attack element. The teams that have been in the final.
That being said, you line out, say Dunlow's lined out to go at St. Eunan's and quickly find them yourself, 1-5 to 2 points down.
There's a balance. There's a balance.
And I think that's why we get this sort of low-scoring defensive game, because you'd want to do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But if you after the first quarter you're trailing 4 points against St. Eunan's, it'd be hard for most clubs to turn that about.
Yeah, but listen, I think that's the balance, you see, Greg, and that's why if you're looking at the scoring in Donegal tends to be lower than other counties, that we're getting the defensive side maybe right. If you want to be a defensive minded coach, it's the ability to break up the pitch and attack. And I think there's a balance even in game, Greg, where you can go after teams. You don't have to have one tactic. You can push. Don't know, we've done that many times. You did in the semi-final, push up, squeeze up in the kick out.
You know why? You've forgotten more about the football than I'll ever know, right? But the one thing that Jim McGuinness, I feel as a very casual watcher, the one thing Jim McGuinness I think brought to the county team, and this is from the same group of players that were playing under different management, is to be able to have different styles of play, to be able to adapt, to have phases of more attacking play, and to be able to switch it up, or to be able to react to what's happening live in the moment, and that the players know what he wants and they're able to do that. So you can have different phases of play, different styles of play, but you can reset very quickly if the need be.
Yeah,
is that beyond a club team?
Do you know, that's a good point, Greg, and I'll tell you this about county football now. Obviously, you're dealing with obviously the elite of our game. You have so much time around them. You know, I've even noticed with unions this year, you know, we've 5 county players, we've county hurlers, lads away and different things. See, to get everybody there to where you really can push a session on, you only have a certain amount of time. Now, there's a lot of time with county teams to really work. And you get to a stage of play where you can do all these things. It's much more difficult, I think, for club teams to get the time to get really, and that's why probably the defensive side of the game is the easier side for me to do. You know, you get your numbers back and everybody blah. It's the attacking element which is harder to do, and maybe there often isn't enough time to do that. So your first priority, I think, for a lot of coaches is get the defence right, which is where you should always start. But I think we haven't got enough of that kind of dynamic play in Donegal club football at the minute. And listen, that's what everybody's telling me. You know, people aren't that happy with what they're seeing. But we're still at this stage of championship where it's kind of, you know, we need to get the one, or we need to get this next victory, and the game then is suffering a bit. But I think it'll evolve, Greg, and I think when the rule changes come in, I think it'll need rule changes, because I can't see it changing without that, because there's going to be protection first.
And of course, exactly. And you know, you can't, in all honesty, head out there to match fire with fire when you know your firepower is not. You have to level it, don't you? You have to try and level the playing field, and often that is with defence and eating
see,
one
here's
out.
the thing, like, you got to develop that, right? So let's just say you're a team that comes up or does okay in the senior championship, and you're beat by a couple of points. What's going to happen next year? Let's say you lose by 4 points to a team that you think is a bit better than you. What's going to happen next year? If you come back with that same strategy, you actually need to develop your strategy a bit to catch them up a bit. And I think therein lies the issue with Donegal club teams, is that if you get your defence right, where's it going to take you? So really, if you're going to be a team that makes your mark and steps up, you've got to be able to hit at the other end of the pitch harder, you know.
That being said, when it all comes down to it, be it St Unions or Dunloe next week, whichever team comes out on top, the local community will be partying like it's 1999, you know, and all the performances or how the wins were won or whatever will be long forgotten.
Will you give me next Monday morning off then?
I will give you. I'll give you on Zoom with the camera off.
If you come to Zoom in my house next week, it could be dangerous. Potentially.
I'll just see boys walking in the background, topless with a pool cue in their hands.
So listen,
come here. So you're going out to Dunloe, and but you're speaking to reps from both clubs. So this is your preview. So St Eunice will be well repped. I think the idea of having Dunloe, Noel McCall's been around for ages. When I was doing sport at Northwest Radio, I used to speak to him, of course. But to get people who are involved in the 60s is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, there's going to be loads of club delegates and that down there, and the crack will be great. Listen, I'm bringing Conal Dunlop with me, Brendan Kilcoyne, wee bit of backup just in case I get cornered. Of course, Porrick Halford will be down, so I'll let them talk the tactics, and I'll sit with you and just line everything up.
Brilliant stuff. No better man than yourself. All right, that's after 7 o'clock tonight. If you can't listen to it live, don't forget it's available as a podcast very shortly after broadcast, and you can listen at your leisure there as we begin the build-up to one of the jewels in the crown of the GA Sporting calendar, the county final next weekend. Brendan, as always, thank you so very much indeed.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Loncombe have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Loncombe products, one to be skincare, and you will get a free 7-piece gift containing a 50ml cleansing milk, a choice of Absolute or Hydrocyn travel size creams, and more iconic Loncombe products. This is available until Saturday the 19th of October or while stocks last. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to Gemma or myself here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Le níosmó bailí fud na tíre, so lá rion do Hervís bus nasc le líonra úmpar 5 TFI níos léhanna. So bhfuil suas le trucha faoin géad nuair a úsáideann tú do chárta líb TFI. Le haid tuile eolais faoi sléite agus aomchláir, túir cuairt ar transportforireland.ie. Is sinne Transport for Ireland. Is muid úmpar dit.
Looking for a technology partner to help you reach your business goals? With cybersecurity solutions from Vodafone, your business can hack off the hackers. And with our collaboration tools like Microsoft 365, your business can bring the team together, wherever they are. Keeping your business secure and productive. Make technology work for you with solutions and support from Vodafone. Search Your Business Can today.
Join me, Marty Friel, this and every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7 Letterkenny. If you're celebrating a birthday or a work night out, Arena 7 Entertainment Complex has it all. Check out arena7.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
Okie doke, the time now is 11:19, just turning 11:20. Now, there was this strange story at the weekend. A TD has revealed, well, this is the TD we're going to speak to. He was offered a trip to Moscow, accommodation in a 5-star hotel, and a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. We'll tease out what the motivations there might be. But apparently, the Sunday Times, not apparently, they actually did report that Russian intelligence used a honey trap to recruit an Irish politician as an agent during Brexit talks, with one of the aims being to undermine relations between Britain and the EU. So, Peadar Tóibín, Deputy Peadar Tóibín, is the leader of AIMDU. He joins us on the show now. Peadar, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning to you, Greg. How are you
doing?
Right,
I'm doing good. This story that was in the paper yesterday is a bit of a strange one to me, because if they're so sure of what they know, I don't understand why the person wasn't mentioned or what have you. I mean, do you is there anything known in the corridors of power about this story prior to being published yesterday, I suppose?
It is a strange story for sure, and I was just happened to be on News Talk Radio when the story was being discussed yesterday morning. So, no, I know there's nothing, but I have no knowledge in relation to who is involved in this particular story. And indeed, you know, I've seen a couple of WhatsApp messages being put about with people asking who is it, but no, there's no knowledge there. It is a very concerning story. It's a very serious story. And while people, when they look at this as kind of intrigue and espionage, you know, Ireland is, I believe, exposed to this type of threat. We're in the EU. We also have a big data and tech sector. And also we do have a very weak defence force at the moment. And people can remember back to the big cyber attack that took place in 2021. That cost 100 million euros. It could top out at about 700 million euros in cost yet. And thousands of people had their health, you know, services delayed. And we don't even know how many people have, you know, been significantly suffered as a result of this. So, you know, it is very important, I believe, that every political party now carries out an audit of their own TDs and senators to make sure that none of them have been in a place where they're exposed to undue influence from outside of the country. Because, you know, the only responsibility that a TD has is to represent their own constituents. And if they're actually using their position to represent the interests of a foreign country, especially a country like Russia, well, that's a serious, serious problem.
Yeah, and it is so serious in that the person should be, if the story is as legit as they claim it is, they should be named. Or,
yeah,
you know,
no, I agree,
or say
absolutely.
we contacted them, you know, it is such and such a person, because it is, I think it's very much in the public interest, but in the absence of that, it makes me question the merits of the story at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, listen, you know, the paper never refuses ink, and my grandfather used to say, if you can believe all you read, you can eat all you see. So in those portions, you have to be skeptical at times in terms of this. But the fact that the Sunday Times put it on their front page, and the fact that they gave it such a big splash internally, makes me feel that the Sunday Times is confident about this particular story.
Yeah, right. So, and I suppose, given your experience, you can understand how this may actually be the case. So take us back to 2017.
Yes, so 2017, I was a member of my former political party. I had...
you know, Sinn Féin, isn't it? You won't burst into flames. You can say it, Paddy. You're okay.
So, anyways, I had a prominent role in that party, a spokesperson of enterprise and so on. And in 2017, I was contacted by a consultancy firm, and that consultancy firm said that there was a large economic forum taking place in Yalta in Russia, that there would be delegates from all around the world, 1,500 delegates, it would be an opportunity to focus on, economic development and enterprise development, and that I was invited to go, and that, all the expenses would be looked after. There would be 5-star hotels involved. And then a subsequent email came through and said that I would be given an opportunity to speak with Vladimir Putin. So I spoke to this individual on the phone. I found it incredible at the time. I found it very strange at the time. And because of the undemocratic nature of the Putin regime, I made a judgment call to say that I wasn't interested in going. And I sent the request to the International Department of Sinn Féin and said, this request came in. I'm not interested in it. And, you guys can make a decision on it. So I felt at the time, and I still feel, I grew up at a time where so many politicians were in the pocket of big business and where cash played a massive influence on political decisions. So I've always been of the instinct that do not ever let yourself get into a situation where you are in the pocket of anybody else or owned by anybody else or can be influenced by anybody else. And the fact that this was an outside situation, outside the country, that was even more worrisome to me that this would be the case. And, some people might say, well, Paddy, you had an opportunity to speak truth to power in terms of Putin in relation to that particular meeting. I don't have notions of myself, I'll be honest with you. And I thought, a TD from County Meath, trying to change direction of the Russian juggernaut was simply not going to be really at play here.
Well, Irish fishermen did they not? But anyway, that's
they did.
No, but I understand. I do understand exactly where you're coming from. But my curiosity would be piqued. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could be conscripted or influenced in that way. But I probably would have been curious to see what it was all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway,
I've no doubt that I would have changed direction as a result of it. But also, perception is a shocking thing too, and perception can be used as a lever in its own right. So even if you were to go there and you were to listen and talk and make decent judgments, the very fact that you had been in that position allows people then to lever that situation into potentially something more difficult as a result. So what I'm saying to other Dáil parties at the moment, and even independents, is that it's important that the parties carry out an audit of their own members to make sure that none of them have been in a position that allows for exposure to undue pressure from from external sources. And if we can get to the bottom of the Sunday Times story and find out if there's an individual who is a member of the Oireachtas in this position, because it is treacherous for an elected representative to use their office to further the interests of another country instead of their own citizens.
Yeah, and people can make up their own minds, but there's been contributions to the Dáil in support of certain regimes and even in Brussels as well. And it would be an interesting exercise maybe to get to the bottom to the motivation of some of those. Maybe it is their own beliefs, or maybe there is some level of financial gain in pushing the interests of certain foreign nations.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fair politically to question the motivation sometimes of the US and even the EU in terms of its engagements with Russia, for sure. And I do think that I've always questioned the fact that NATO is looking to find an ally right on Russia's doorstep. And when the opposite happened in terms of Cuba with the US obviously weren't shy in actually pushing back significantly in those terms too. So that type of analysis is fair enough, I think, from different perspectives. But what's not fair is for a person's judgment to be deleted and for their actions to be directed by an outside source. That's absolutely wrong. And if it is the case, it needs to be rooted out.
All right. Just one thing that from your earlier comments, you talked about how, our vulnerability here in terms of our defence and the vulnerability of our sort of our IT network, to use real layman's terms in relation to it. The only way we really potentially could get further security on that is stronger alignments with the likes of NATO and certain elements of the EU. I'm not saying that's what you said. But I want to go back to it because some might sort of maybe say, is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. Aintu firmly believes in Irish neutrality. But I'll give you an example of the government's approach. So if you look at, for example, the year of the cyber attack, the National Cyber Security Centre It had no fixed abode. It had no CEO, and its funding was €5 million. Now, to put that in context, the Department of the Taoiseach spent €15 million that year on PR. The Department of the Taoiseach spent 3 times as much on PR than it spent on the total investment in the National Cybersecurity Centre. And obviously, people will know that we have about the ability to put one ship on the seas at the moment in terms of policing our ships, because we are not employing enough people to work in our navy, and the number of soldiers in this country has fallen significantly. I do believe that we need to really strengthen our armed forces and our ability to defend our national interest. But I believe that a small country joining in a military bloc can have no influence over the decision of that military bloc, but yet has to send its young men and women to actually fight in those wars.
Okay.
And I don't think that's acceptable for Ireland.
Just a quick question on the SPHE controversy at the moment. I think you've been vocal on this. I have taken a little step back on, not step back, by the way. I just wanted to see how the dust settled on this, because as you said a little earlier on, paper doesn't refuse ink, and I'm sure your beloved grandfather might have a phrase similarly applying to social media and what have you, right? But obviously there was this video that has been circulating from a whistleblower. I believe personally every single parent should know themselves and source information themselves to find out what's being taught. But anyway, this video was circulating suggesting teachers are going to be expected to introduce certain explicit and inappropriate topics and materials in the classroom. Now, the Department of Education has said this is categorically not the case. Secondary school students will not be shown sexually explicit materials or asked to watch pornography as part of sex education on the SPHE curriculum. Has that eased any concerns you or your party may have had in relation to that? Because, listen, I haven't seen a video as shared in a long time, but I just wanted to do a little bit further independent research before I platformed it as fact. And I know Aintu are hosting local meetings in relation to this. I just want to know where you're at in relation to this, given... By the way, if you haven't seen that information yet from the Department of Education, just tell me and we can return to it into the future. I don't want to lump this on you either.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the specific information, but I've heard Norma Foley's interview where she actually pushes back in a similar fashion in relation to this. First of all, we believe that sex education is important for secondary school children. We need to help secondary school students understand the worlds that they live in. We do believe that it should be age appropriate, and that is a really important issue. Now, I've seen that particular video that you're referencing, and some of the material is for sure way too explicit for children. The department has said that material is not being shown to children, or some of the.
But they say it's categorically not the case as outlined in that video.
Yeah, but I will say I can't understand why teachers would be asked to go through, let's say, for example, in creating out of Morla, genitalia belong to men and women, if they're, because they know what obviously that genitalia is about and looks like. So why would we actually ask to go through a exercise like that if that exercise is not to be transferred at some level to children? The other issue is, I believe that education should be based in science and fact, but there is a lot of gender ideology right now in the SPHE course. And while absolutely children with gender dysphoria need all the help that they can get, it should be based in science and it should be based on fact. And the gender ideology element isn't factual within the education curriculum as it stands in the SPHE. So, while there have been improvements, it was far worse.
I think that the issue with that, and we have to, because it's the future of our children here at stake,
sure.
All children, that was kind of drafted when I think there was a different atmosphere in the country in relation to an understanding of that type of stuff, or even actually where we got a true sense of what parents' feelings are. I don't know if it's been changed since, but I think it needs to be reflected on in the current environment where the public have educated themselves rather than... a lot of even that silly cartoon, a representation of Ireland. You know what I mean? We have to go through it all and make sure that it is reflective, because we can't damage children. We have to make sure we get it right, whatever the correct answer is. By the way,
can I say one thing? I've looked at research in this, and the best protection for children in terms of how they grow up, understanding their own sexuality, the relationships they have in terms of delayed sexual activity, etc. The best thing that can happen is for parents to actually sit down and have a conversation with their own children. And while sex education is important in schools, the research clearly shows about a quarter of kids don't have any conversation with their parents at all about these things, and that is a mistake. We need to talk to our
but we
kids.
can't. Yeah, we're not. But the problem is we're not going to fix that. Like, and a lot of it is because of finances and all that type of stuff. But a lot of our children are heading to school have not eaten. So
yeah, I know what I mean.
Agree,
so
but I just don't think we can rely on parents for many different reasons. I think the state and the school system does have a role to play in that regard, and abuse can be happening at home as well. There's lots of there's lots of areas, but there has to be a balance that's right for children. I think that's the important thing. Sure. That whatever we do is right for children. Patter.
And remember this.
Yep.
Parents are employing the Department of Education to educate their children. So, this is the system that we have. But yet the Department of Education is ignoring some of the concerns of parents here. I've put in parliamentary questions to the Minister in relation to all of this, and, I'm waiting for her response. But we need a system that's age appropriate and is based on fact and in science.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, thanks. I think you might be in a couple of weeks hosting delegations on Lyme disease at the Dole, so I might speak to you on that if you don't mind, because it's a very significant topic here in Donegal, closer to the time.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Patter. Take care.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye. That's the leader of Aintu, Patter Tobin, speaking on the show there. Right. Lots coming up on the programme in the last 25 minutes, believe it or not, including many of your comments coming in thick and fast.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Let's talk about lamb. Quality assured lamb. There's so many ways to enjoy its natural flavour, like tender lamb pieces for a midweek teriyaki stir fry, or succulent lamb chops, delicious with minty couscous. And for the weekend, leg of lamb with rosemary that the whole family will enjoy. For great meal ideas, visit boardbia.ie/recipes, and always choose lamb with the Boardbia quality mark, so you know it's produced to Boardbia's highest standards, verified at every stage.
Check out Super Value's Real Rewards prices. Scan your card or app and get this week's flash deals. Lion's Tea 210 pack, now €4. Villa Maria Sauvignon Blanc 6-pack case deal, now €50. Plus, save even more with weekly vouchers on the Real Rewards app. Make real savings every week at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Customer quotas apply.
New this week in Home Store and More. All living room throws are all half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price living room throws are gone, they're gone. Also, all Halloween and all bar stools and chairs are still all half price. But when all the half price Halloween and all the half price bar stools and chairs are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More. Visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, your football store. Football boot sale now on. Save up to 40% off. Puma Future 7 boots only $49.99. Save €40. The ground is soft. Try a pair of soft ground football boots. Adidas F50 or Adidas Gloro SG with a fold-over tongue. Score a goal with our new range of football boots in-store and online. bmcsports.ie. Our Christmas club is now open.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
Now, Aware Mental Health Week begins today and runs until Sunday the 13th of October. The aim of this week is to increase awareness and understanding of depression. On Monday Focus, we're exploring the complexities of this mental health condition, discussing its symptoms, impacts and the importance of seeking help, with the assistance of Dr. Susan Brannick, who's Clinical Director at Aware. Good morning to you, Susan. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Depression is, I want you to talk to us about it, because people use the word, oh, I'm depressed, or I feel depressed, when it's not necessarily a clinical condition as such. And that's not in any way to trivialize that, but it's one of those words that can have sort of a broad church from, a passing low mood to a clinical situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So depression, as you say, is more than maybe feeling sad or feeling low on a day or a particular morning. So depression you might understand as a constellation sorry, of symptoms.
Hello? I can't hear
Hello?
you. Yes, sorry, your mouth must have been away from the handset there, Doctor.
Apologies. I was saying yes. So depression is more than simply feeling low, maybe of a day or a morning. So there's a constellation of symptoms that we might understand as depression. They affect our patterns of thinking. So maybe thinking negatively about yourself, about the future, about other people. Maybe also problems with concentration, decision making. We also know in depression there's problems with obviously how you feel. So as well as feeling low, maybe there might be difficulties around agitation or anger in combination then with changes in behaviour. So people who feel depressed often might withdraw from activities that they might have gotten joy or pleasure from in the past or also have meaning for them. And I suppose we know that the less we do things that bring pleasure, the lower people might feel, which then makes it harder to get back into the cycle of doing things. So as I said, it's a constellation of symptoms across mood, behaviour and actions. And certainly if you're noticing those signs and symptoms over at least 2 weeks or longer, that's really the time to be talking to the GP and getting help, or indeed maybe contacting us here at Aware. Our website aware.ie, or also our phone line is open 10 in the morning till 10 at night, where you can speak to a trained volunteer, maybe just taking that first step into getting help.
A lot of the symptoms, if I can call it that, you talk of there, sort of cross over with anxiety. What is the difference between depression and anxiety?
So I suppose depression really is a mood disorder, we would say. Oftentimes it's characterised by thinking about the past or about loss for many people. So you might notice that your thinking can be quite repetitive, going over past experiences, maybe being very self-critical. It can be heavy for people, maybe feeling a lack of energy or motivation, and also problems with sleep. Anxiety tends to be more future-focused, so characterised by a lot of worry. So worry about things that are happening, worry about things in the future, as well as feeling very, I guess the body's internal alarm system goes off with anxiety. So maybe heart racing, problems with stomach, gastrointestinal difficulties, maybe feeling anxious or panicky in the body. So it's a different body experience for a lot of people, but for many people they experience both, so it's not uncommon to have depression and anxiety. For most people that's the case.
Now, people can find themselves in depression off the back of, it could be loneliness, it could be troubles with finances, it could be dealing with defective blocks crisis. How can you deal with can you, and I'm sure you can, deal with depression and try and improve people's mental well-being, even if some of the causes or what appear to be the causes of it persist?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. I suppose we might call them risk factors. So the things that might make it more likely that someone will experience depression or anxiety can be financial problems. It can be relationship difficulties. There's a whole range of social circumstances that it can affect mood. But I suppose then when mood becomes low, as I said, for longer than 2 weeks, going into weeks and months, there's certainly support and help that you can get for that. So I guess a mainstay of support is often doing what's possible to solve those practical issues first, whether that's support with finances or more information around that. You mentioned loneliness, which is another difficulty that's highly related or linked to experiencing depression. So oftentimes it can be helpful to address the causes of that.
Yes.
If someone is experiencing a low mood, though, as I said, it's important to seek help. As I said, maybe whether that's the GP or an organisation like ourselves. Certainly, recovery is really possible. It's about linking in with the right fit of help for you. As part of our week this week, we're opening registration to all of our education programs. So they're both in person, but also online for people who can't get to various locations, so you can do them virtually. And those groups are based on cognitive behavioural therapy principles. So the idea of understanding what depression and anxiety are, but also more importantly, developing skills and strategies to overcome difficulties. So you can find more information about those on our website, aware.ie.
And I think there are sort of local, national and international influences, local being your current situation, be it loneliness, financial trouble, relationship challenge. But I also think there is a bigger picture here in that, and I think it's an aggravating factor, is that I don't like to use the word hopeless, right? But things seem pretty desperate globally. Do you know what I mean? If you switched on the news and you don't feel good in yourself, it's going to compound that, I think, as well. How important is it, and I do not mean, and I would never use the phrase pull together, but pull yourself together, but how important is it when we start seeing some of the things that you talk of there and start recognizing that in ourselves after the 2 weeks, that we get in there as early as possible to ring that GP and say, I think I'm starting or I am at the beginning of being depressed. To ring the likes of yourself. You know, often we talk about reaching out when people are very desperate, and it's almost the last call we might make. I think it's really important, isn't it, that we really look inward and spot as early as possible the signs and seek help.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess there's two parts to that, really. So the first is recognizing whether what you're experiencing might be depression or anxiety. That's the information part of this week. So learning more about that. Learning more about that from our different organizations. What we found in our survey this year was that people...
I've lost you there again, Susan. Sorry, I won't keep you very much longer.
Sorry, I was saying from our survey this year, we found that the people who did reach out for help, whether that be a GP or, mental health professional or an organisation like ourselves, they found it helpful. So that's a really important finding. So the people that took that risk or that leap, they did actually find it useful. So what we know as well is that GPs are having these conversations with people in every clinic across the country. So it's maybe about talking to someone maybe a GP that you have a good relationship and starting that conversation. They'll be very used to those discussions. I can promise you that. So it's about finding that right fit of help for you, which is possible. And then I guess that opens that door to recovery.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for your time. That's Dr. Susan Brannick there, Clinical Director of Aware. Now you can contact Aware Support, their support line, on 180 80 48 48. It's open 365 days a year between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Or go into your GP. I think Susan referenced this. They're having these conversations all of the time, and there are solutions to feeling like that. And you shouldn't walk around feeling depressed and anxious. And as I say, you can help that, even if the reason as to why you might feel like that, you might have to persist with that. It might have to continue into the future. There is help. And as I say, your GP, you can go in there and speak to them in absolute confidentiality. They might be able to help you, or ring Aware, as I mentioned. But whatever you do, do something. That's the only thing I would sort of try and emphasize for this week. Whatever you do, do something. And I'm sure you're sitting out there and that sort of circular thinking, thinking backwards all of the time. You're not being able to sleep because you keep thinking over the same stuff, or if it's anxiety, thinking about the future, not taking opportunities that you might have because they're overwhelming or whatever. I know lots of you out there are going to relate to that. So, if you feel you can get help, please do. What about those innocent Israelis still held hostage by Hamas? Many vulnerable, innocent, frightened women beaten and used as sex slaves. Does any of your anti-Israel mob even care about them? Well, I do. And, I think when you're condemning what is happening, it has to be right across the board. None of it's acceptable at all. Good morning, Greg. Just a wee gripe on a Monday morning. Better Mondays than any, I suppose. I'm a pensioner who was referred to the HSE hearing clinic in Stranraer 6 months ago. I phoned last Friday only to be told that there's a waiting list of 14 months. Totally unacceptable in this day and age. Let's chase that up to see what the story is there. That's crazy. Because I'll tell you, if your hearing is deteriorated or you can't hear correctly, it's incredibly frustrating. And talking about things that can begin to make you depressed, that can be an issue there as well. So it is, in a way, potentially linked to our last conversation. So we might get back in contact with you to see if there's anything we can do in that regard. John's views, who we were talking about earlier on, he wants a one-state solution. John's views aren't an accurate representation of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause. That's what he was saying. Greg, we all know who was behind October 7th. It was a good excuse for the Israelis to start a war. They couldn't care less about the hostages. They were a means to an end. If they've been bombing and starving the Palestinian people for almost a year, how do they expect the hostages to still be alive? Now, also too, by the way, and I might mention this on the show tomorrow, there's no harm for us to get our little sprigs of positive news. That silver lining and all that kind of stuff. So if you've anything good happened in your life, or a good bit of luck, or good news that you've received, or a lovely interaction with a member of the public, please send them in to us. I'd love to include more of that stuff on the show as well, because I don't want to be... we talk about lots of different stuff and lots of it's positive, but you know yourself, if there are those nice little stories that you can share with us, please feel free to do so. We love them here on the 9 till noon show.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
They say time equals money, so spend your money where you spend your time. No matter what your preference is, Cooney's Home Interiors has something to suit every taste and budget. With our extensive range of home furnishing to fit every room and style, from mattresses and beds to rugs, mirrors and suites of furniture. Visit us in store today and see for yourself what Cooney's have to offer, and let us help you make your dream home a reality. Cooney's Home Interiors, Letterkenny Retail Park. Huge range, great prices.
Tá dlí a bhaineann le Madrid den bhíonach bully ulmhór a gahrú. Ba sé an aon dlí bully ulmhór a umpórtáil, a fórú, a dhiel nó a aistrú chuig mallet áitríomh ón géad lá de bhí ar a fórghábhail is a fithe cethir. Má tá ceanna acu agat, is féidir leat iiritas a dhéanamh ar dhéimhnú dílúne ó dúdarás áitiúil idir an chéad lá de bhí ar a fórghábhail is a fithe cethir agus an chéad lá de bhí fear a ghábhail is a fithe cuaig. Is féidir tuilleadh eolais áil ag gov.ie /XL bully. Ó Rialtas na Héireann.
Time is running out for people in Gaza. There is nowhere on earth more dangerous to be a child. The Irish Emergency Alliance can get aid in. We need your help right now to provide life-saving food, water and healthcare. Visit irishemergencyalliance.org or free phone 1800 939 979 to donate now.
If you have a job to do over the weekend, Watson Hire have a brilliant weekend hire deal available. Get any item on Friday, keep it until Monday, and only pay for 1 day's hire. That's 3 days hire on any equipment or machinery for the price of one, making it even easier to get the job sorted. To book, call Watson Hire at Lisnane and Letterkenny on 916 7777.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. If you haven't started using the McElhinney's Layaway Club, it's not too late. Spread the cost of Christmas with designer gifts for the whole family. Available by phone or in store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
So today there will be a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers, some heavy, highest temperatures of 15 or 16 degrees in light to moderate south to southwest winds. Now, 2 years ago today, we lost 10 people in the Creasla tragedy. Lives changed forever in many different ways, and many here as well, because, you know, it's of our community, it's all of us here. We were so moved by those awful events that occurred at 3:17 p.m. 2 years ago today. Robert Garvey and his daughter Shauna Flanagan Garvey passed. Catherine O'Donnell and her son James Monaghan, Jessica Gallagher, Leona Harper, Martin McGill, James O'Flaherty, Martina Martin and Hugh Kelly, all very much missed. They lost their lives in that awful tragedy 2 years ago today. A memorial service is being held in St Michael's Chapel, Creasla at 7 p.m. this evening to mark the second anniversary of the horrific explosion in which 10 people lost their lives. Everyone's invited to the Creasla Community Hub afterwards for refreshments. Father John Joe Duffy has asked everyone to pause to remember those who died at 3:17 this afternoon, the exact time of the blast. And just, as I'm sure everybody knows, everyone still very much in our thoughts and prayers. It's one of those awful events, and I can't even imagine what it is like if you might have been directly involved, but it feels like a lifetime ago, and it also feels like it was only yesterday away. Such was the awful tragedy. We're going to play out with a little piece of music from Daniel O'Donnell as we reflect and remember and think on all of those who lost their lives, their loved ones, their families and friends, and everyone affected by this awful tragedy.